I know, I'm late. I'm late for a very important date. No, I have sick kids, and it is thunderstorming, but it went away. It didn't happen. I have extremely sick kids. My poor oldest son, his nose is so red and his cheek is so red from the amount of snot that is coming out of his nose. We were supposed to go to a birthday party today, which would have given, I was kind of, it would have given me a reason to be out of my house. But they are running fevers. And I'm tired and I'm exhausted. But I just figured tonight, we would kind of have an open chat. I have a few updates of this upcoming week that I want to do. Let me just hold on just a second. I appreciate the comments that you guys leave. Like, do not ever be afraid to reach out. I am a middle child. So growing up, uh, if anybody's a middle child, you have to fight for the word and a lot of psychological other things that go along with it. In other words, all my friends will tell you I cut people off. I became very painstakingly aware in that video. I'm just glad to know I wasn't crazy and that it was. So, I've been going back through the videos and, yeah. And I think it's just more of the fact that I talk with them so much behind, and I commented, I just talk with them so much behind the scenes. I just got to remember, people don't know this where we have the camera on. And, a bunch of nerves and whatnot. But I appreciate it because before I did work behind the scenes, I'm good at behind the scenes. And behind the scenes, we are getting shit done behind the scenes. But it's new up here in front of the camera. And y'all make it look easy out there. It is not so easy on top of a lot of other things that were happening. In my personal life, it made it kind of just hard to be myself, and give my opinions. I'm a very biased person, but my biasism changes with an air. I'm not going to have something flat in my face telling me that what I believe is I shouldn't believe that anymore and continue to disregard that and believe what you know what I mean? You know what I mean? So tonight, I just figured I would, let me copy and paste it. I don't really know how. I just have an open chat tonight. I'm going to drop my link. I don't really know how to. I think it's there. So I am going to drop. I know a few people wanted to come on the panel. I open it up, talk about anything if you want to talk about the case. I do, like I said, I hear you guys. I'm so glad that you guys let me know. When Caitlin Ledbetter's sister and aunt came on, it was really kind of hard to hear. They were sharing a phone on the couch, and it was just extremely hard to hear. And on top of that, how I got to talk to Kaylee and her aunt is just kind of an interesting story. So when they, after we did the interview and we got off there, we all agreed, they just felt this burst to get everything out there. It was very scattered. It was very this and that. So they've wanted to come back on, but the thing about with them is it just comes down to just intimidation. When I found Caitlin, it's in the Tennessee Dark Hole group. It's a private group where families go to tell their story. Should they feel comfortable enough? And any family that's in there that listening, that doesn't automatically give me the right to come up here and speak on that story. You have to give me, I asked that permission. That's a private group for a reason. And it should stay that way. So don't ever be afraid to share your story just because I'm in there, by the way, or on my page or anywhere. I won't do that unless you say, hey, let's go, or, you give me that permission. So I was in the dark hole group, and I came across a picture. I started asking, and I had somebody come forward, and they were like, "Oh yes, I know a lot about. I'm close to the situation. I know a lot about the situation." I'm like, "Oh yeah, well yes, I would love to talk to you. Will you talk to me?" In the comment section, they were like, "Yes, I will," and they never reach out. I have it happen. I don't ever pressure anybody. I'm not gonna come pound at your door. If you want to come talk to me, you'll come talk to me. So they didn't. So I continue on. I see another post. I'm in the comments. I'm asking questions. I'm, and then again, this person was like, "Yeah, I'll talk to you. I have all this information," and yeah, do it. Come talk to me. Yes, lovely. Just reach out to me, message me. And that never happened. So, I continue on. And then somewhere in there, I seen Kaylee comment, and I had never seen her comment before. And then immediately I seen this person, boom, this other person comment, and then Kaylee was gone. So, my little spidey senses, I feel, I'm just like, what is going on here? So I kind of like, bait. I do what I do. I put I'm in there, doing my thing. So I would make a post or make a comment just to test it. And this person, boom, automatically, there they were. And then Kayla would call, and then she would go. And I'm like, by this time, my alarm bells are ringing. I'm like, what is going on here? So I tried reaching out to the admins of the pit, like, who is this? And they just were all like, yeah, they are close. I'm not sure, it's kind of murky, but they are. And they're kind of like, and this is my opinion, this is my opinion, kind of at the forefront of figuring out what happened to Caitlin. They had some, allegedly, just from the talks out there, may have known some people in law enforcement, and I was like, oh, okay, awesome. But it was almost just like every time this person made their presence known, that Caitlin's family, just didn't really respond. And I'm just like, you know what? Everywhere I look, everybody's talking but her family, and that's what I do. I'm like, I really want to know what's going on and what they have to say. So I finally got a hold, and roundabout, I got a hold of Kaylee, and I'm just like, who is this? What is going on here? And when I when I realized who that person was and why they haven't talked, they very much have wanted to speak, and they felt like they couldn't. When I found out who this person was and how they fit into the scenario, I was like, oh wow, okay. Well, they, in my opinion, are they really at the forefront of helping bring Caitlin home, or are they at the forefront to kind of keep an ear in to make sure certain things weren't talked about? Because when Caitlin's sister came on, those things were talked about, and some things came up about Caitlin's boyfriend, and this person was family to her boyfriend. And at that time, if this is how the family is feeling, I just didn't think it was very appropriate that this person was at the forefront of, or at the very least, that, Caitlin's family didn't get the chance to speak. So when they came on, they were very much there was just this burst and this surge to just hurry up and get everything out there. Drop your link, StreamYard, and watch your backstage. No, accept me. You want to see me again. Touch your... My link's in the chat. Is it in there? I dropped it. Is it not showing up on YouTube? So when we go back on, oh Lord. Way to get banned, Jospin. Goodbye. I don't need to see your Peter. So when they come back on, Kaylee is one of Caitlin's sisters. And I had one of her other sisters reach out to me privately. They're not very much coming on here, and I've offered, and still they can. But I will definitely, I want to bring her account into it. I get for her perspective of how things, went down. That's her sister. And I will do that. So what I've been doing, people have been reaching out, and like I said, that's why it was just just this urge to get it out. There was just this. They described it as they, not being like threatened or nothing like that, but very strong. There's just strong vibes of intimidation, and so they just had the strong urgency to get everything out. And we had talked about it afterwards. But since then, it's all about feeling comfortable about coming back up here. So what I've been doing is, I appreciate everybody that reach out and let me know that, they can hear them. It's kind of confusing. So what I've been doing is I've been going back through, and I have been writing down times, dates, account, kind of everything in order. I'm going to have Jen 10. She's a mod on the channel, but she has talked to Caitlin more extensively after that interview, and they were kind of a little bit closer. So she's going to come on with me. I'm about halfway through the interview now. I should be finishing it by tomorrow night. So that way next week sometime when Jen 10 has the time to come, we're both going to come on here. I'm going to send her those notes. That way she'll have them to elaborate on. And she just has a deeper side, to Kaylee. And so, yeah, that's what I want to do. I appreciate everybody. I'm new to this thing. Don't ever be afraid to be like, hey, you should try doing this differently. I want to hear that. You're never going to get yelled at here. This is a completely safe place. Even the people that don't like me in the stories that I run, I hear you, and I've always tried to be respectful. It's always a safe place. I want to hear all sides, all perspectives. So we're going to do that. And I think that, a lot of it just has to do with, behind the scenes, I have no problem. And if you are on my personal account, I am a very opinionated person. I don't have no problem speaking my mind, giving my opinions, giving my thoughts. And normally it's just second nature. And then you have something happen, and then it changes a lot of things. And going up here and speaking on the accounts given to me is one thing, but to start to open up and give my thoughts and opinions, it was very hard because of the past 2 years that I've been through. And God forbid, somebody find things out that I'm not ready or some of that nature and use it against me. So it was just safe. Because all the families behind the scenes are like, go be that person when you're up there. And it's a little hard. I do appreciate everybody for being so understanding. I was, I guess I wasn't expecting it. Um, and I didn't know it was a thing. So I didn't know that there were people out there that felt the same. But I think that has a lot to, you wake up and you kind of realize areas that you could have been better in, and areas that suffer because of it. And I think this past week or so has been one of those things where you just realize you thought you were in control of something, and some things are just not in your control. I didn't know. I didn't know it was a thing. I am doing my part, so I very much appreciate everybody for being nice and understanding. I It's not that I don't really want to talk about it, and honestly, I'll be real with you guys. This is like months ago. I kind of think all the families that I talk to um on a daily, they kind of seen this train wreck happening months ago, because you know I think they noticed it. They would ask, and I opened up to most of them months ago and let them know what happened, and they're like, oh well, no wonder. And I'm like, yeah, I don't really know who to be. It's very scary to go up there and be who I was and somebody attack me, because I don't know if I'm strong enough for that right now, you know? Um, but they seen it, and they said, you need to take the time, you need to take care of yourself. Da, da, da. And no, 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 I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. I'm here for you guys. I'm here for you guys. That's why I started this page. Is I felt like such a horrible person. I needed to do something good, and I'm good. I was good behind the scenes. Um, I feel like I could be good, but I have all this extra stuff going on, and I just really need to be. That's what they've all said. To just go be yourself. And right now, it's really hard to do. Um, but yeah, they called it. I think they called it months ago when I told them. And one of the things that I discussed with them, because they've also, it's mental health. There's so much that could be benefited from coming up here and talking about it. But, like I tell them, you have to think of the platform that I speak for. You know what I mean? And I'm just speaking. I'm just being real here from the heart. These families didn't ask for or put themselves in, or any shape, way, or form. So it's all about, is this just the right place to talk about that here? But I appreciate, I just felt like I owed people an explanation other than I can't make it. And that was my biggest thing for even saying it in the first place, was I owed them a little bit more than I'm sorry I can't make it. So I appreciate everybody. I have been talking to a few ladies, and one of them has, we've been talking, and I've been talking to her about it, and I might go on her panel and talk about it, because I just think it would be more appropriate. I don't know. Uh, the families here certainly don't feel that way. It's something I feel in my heart. So I've been open. I was talking to her earlier, and, just going through it. And, there's some things that are nervous to talk about. If you notice, I haven't even been able to say it this whole time. I refer to it as it. So I still have a lot to gear up for if I want to come talk about it. Um, but today, talking with her was literally the first time I've ever went that in depth. And I there's The first half of it is just not pretty. And I warned her, I'm like, if you really want me to come on your panel, maybe you should hear some of those nitty gritty details before you have me come on your channel and I ruin your channel. Because, but I mean, that's just the thing. I've been so worried about what people are going to think. And I used to be, it's just so crazy because I went from this tabletop in, I was a social butterfly. I never fit in anywhere. I fit in everywhere, anywhere I wanted to fit. I was just that type of person. I drank, I smoked, I dabbled in just about, I mean, I was no angel. Um, in a group setting, it's always been in a group setting by myself. It's a little different. But other than that, I was the rebel child. Ooh, mama said, don't get a tattoo. I was the first one to get a tattoo and then come show her. I was just, so for me to go from that to be locked in my house, I don't know. I do believe in the beginning it is sometimes necessary. But yeah, it just became really blurry on when it wasn't my choice anymore. And the only way I can describe it is I really, my heart was set on going to Tennessee. It really was. And I just thought that would be it. I'll go down there. I'll leave my house. It's up to me. I just, I just haven't walked out the door. I can walk out the door if I want to walk out the damn door. I just ain't really had the need to. So I gave myself a need to. And yeah, I just, there you are. Yeah, that's fine. I'll probably still be here. Um, just chatting about things, about anything really. Um, I just appreciate everybody being so understanding. It really makes me wonder why the hell I've been locked in my house for the past 2 years. But it's just my whole family. I tell you, I'm a very it's just crazy to go from that person, and then just after something like that happens, it's just who are you supposed to be afterwards? And then once people know the nitty gritty details, um, especially with what I'm trying to do here, it's not pretty. But I really do believe that with things that are going on right now, um, people need to hear it. Um, it's a little different when it's you. I didn't know it was a thing when somebody said the word. I was just like, oh, but I didn't know because I created the safe space. When it first happened, I mean I put myself here really right when I found out I was pregnant. That's when and especially when I started showing because nobody knew I was even pregnant. So yeah, that's when it started. But yeah, I feel like it was my decision, and then especially after I had him, I thought it was safest and comforting. So hey Arctic, I I think my link is in the chat. I'm not sure if it actually, if anybody wants to hop up. I'm just up here talking. I appreciate everybody just for being so understanding with a lot of things. And letting people know I'm going back over. I figured I would go over all the videos. Letting people know I'm going back over the videos that I have done and kind of going to recap on a lot of things this coming week. Caitlin Ledbetter, I know a lot of people, it was just hard to hear and they really wanted to get things out. And then, for very good reasons, I feel. So I've been going through, I'm about halfway through, and I'm going to go on. And just letting everybody know that never be afraid to let me know, to do something differently. I want that. It's such an open space. I will never attack you. I'm a nice person as long as it's nice, I want to hear it. I want to get better for them, for the families. So I very much appreciate people letting me know how they feel. I want you guys to come watch for them. Um, I'm here for y'all. I'm here for them. I'm just here to be a gateway, I guess, and that's all I wanted to be. So if you guys don't understand what's going on, I want y'all to tell me that for sure, definitely. But yeah, I released the Gainsborough, a snippet of the Gainsborough recording last night. That recording. I'm pegging. By now we know the TBI closed this case in 2007. It happened in 2002. The recording and parts of it references it as this happened several years ago. So it was, in my opinion, right around the time they closed it, they sat down with them, or after they closed it and sat down with them. Regardless, for the years on, every time they'd call, check in, hey, what's up? Even relevant now, talking to them, talking to um, the DA, going to the meetings for the parent. Like, nobody in there said that it was closed, and it's crazy. The stuff we hear in this recording, you guys don't understand. And that's where I feel like Gainsborough is different, because I got a very good insight and look at to the things that were, you guys had. That is just the first 47 minutes, and pertains to what we can talk about, because we have the autopsy reports, the discrepancies, and the things that they just say that he flat out wasn't done because of who Harlan was. I plan on, Heather, she's a crime scene investigator. She's going to come back on with those autopsies. She has that record, she has it to listen to, and she's going to come back on and help me do that as soon as she is ready to. She has everything now to go. And then after that, I'm going to go through and I'm going to see, see what else we can release. There are names in there. There are things that people don't know about. I'll just be honest with you. And I'm not going to put that out there, especially, the DA is asking for any tips, leads. They want to know. Call that number. So of course, I think that's one of the biggest things is I'm not here to get that stuff. If I wanted to be, boy, Gainsborough could be a treasure trove alone for that. So, but things are getting done, and I'm happy. I gotta switch to the comments, you guys. I am so sorry. Hi guys. I'm going back up. And that's another thing. I appreciate you guys being so understanding, because that's another thing that's made it hard to just come up here and be myself. People are worried, like, I don't cuss up here. I don't do this up here. And the families let me know, and you guys tell me, and I get it. But if you guys knew me and knew who I was, I cuss worse than a damn sailor. You go talk to my mom, she'll tell you right. But the thing about it is just what I've gone through this past 2 years. My thing going up here is just like, okay, I'm gonna get up here, and I'm not gonna give them any reason to attack me, because then they'll find out this horror, just truly what a horrible person I am, because that's just truly how I feel sometimes about it, and about what happened. And I tried to make myself, the less ammo I give anybody, the focus is here and not here, and I don't have to worry about them even asking me. anything personal. So I was just this robot. And it's scary out there in what this other YouTuber calls it, the YouTuber streets right now. It's crazy. So God forbid I say something, and I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm mean, but I just ignore it. If y'all's been around from the beginning, I had a partner. It was a very bad falling out. Nobody knows the details because all I came up and said is, you can come at me all day, but when you come at the families or the page and the channel and the things that we're trying to do, she tried to shut down my page. Back then we just had the page. I said she was gone. I said what I said. She's not coming back. I haven't spoken on a word since. I have not gone and looked over there. I haven't gone to see if she was talking shit. I haven't gone to see nothing. Because that's the end of it. So, in my mind, if I just don't say anything, just don't give my opinions, don't sound, biased. But when I started opening up to the parents and the families and the loved ones that I do talk to, if you've noticed, it's becoming, I'm getting there. It's becoming easier, but it's been hard to engage with you guys because God forbid we have a conversation, right? And you ask me something personal or something. I went from a social butterfly to I don't know how to engage with people anymore, and it's crazy. It's crazy. I tell these family Arctic. I tell them all the time. If you knew me behind, I just don't want everybody to be like, oh, don't listen to that YouTuber. She's up there fucking cussing like a whatever trailer. I only say that because I've lived in a few trailer parks, so no offense, but you know what I mean. Like whatever. My son, his favorite cuss word is the F word because of me. Don't get it twisted. I think I just really tried to. It's just, who are you supposed to be after this? It just seems like if you get, you give your opinion or you seem your little, people attack you. And I have always been strong enough for that shit, but these past 2 years, I have not been strong enough for the fear of people are going to find out that, I gave my son up for adoption and they would use that against me and I was not strong enough. But y'all have, I keep telling everybody, you guys have helped me. I've started to comment in the chats on the channels that I subscribe to. You guys have really helped me integrate back into doing that. So I appreciate it. Okay. I don't know how to block people. I don't know how to do this. The only reason why I had a YouTube is because I thought to have people on the screen at the same time, it was just a YouTube thing because, well, we started out in a group and then we tried to go do it in the group. And I was like, well, maybe we have to have a page. And then so we made a page and then we tried to do it and I couldn't do it. So I was like, oh, so then it must just be a YouTube thing. So then here's YouTube. Beauty and Glamour Magic. Are you talking to me? You read my post the other day? I'm not sure. Are you talking about the post? I honestly, I haven't said those words outside my little bubble, and that's what I did. I put myself in a bubble because at the time I felt it was safe, and I think it was right. But I've never been so scared of what people think. Like, I literally felt like I couldn't tell you what was worse, was the fear of going outside and running into somebody that I didn't know in the making small conversation. I tried to go to Speedway it was like a week or so after it happened. Um, and there was this guy standing in front of me, and you know how you're waiting in a line, and there's a line, and you're kind of like swaying back and forth, and he was swaying, and every time he would sway back, I had this fear that he would just turn around and say, "Oh, how are you?" And I would totally lose my shit. Like, just that's when I didn't pay for nothing. I just put everything back and I went home. And that's when I kind of knew that it was, and that was, yeah, I wasn't ready for the outside world. So, I mean, really, I started putting myself in there when I found out, but after it happened, because as horrible as it was so beautiful in the end. Like it was truly, and I know what I did was right. But so I figured, if I put myself in here, nobody can tarnish it. Nobody can. It was already ugly in the beginning. So, you know, somebody else making it ugly, or after this beautiful ending, I just, I wanted to preserve it. I wanted to keep it for myself. I wanted to keep it. I didn't. Yeah, well, it wasn't, it's not really I mean, about a year and 9 months, damn near close to years, because I found out I found out I was pregnant in October, the beginning of October, and of 2019. No, 20. Sorry, 20. Yeah, and I definitely didn't go out after I started showing, because nobody knew. And I was working. I was working at the time, and they knew, but at that time everybody thought I was keeping him, because I very much tried. uh, I got COVID when I was 32 weeks, and I had to not be I couldn't be there anymore, and I never went back after I had him. And I never went back after that because, well, they all, when I left, I was I was keeping him. So the fear of going back, yeah, just, yeah, it was crazy. So I really, nobody knew. I didn't post on Facebook. I didn't do nothing. I, I, I put myself there before I even knew it. And now it's just like, I feel like I made it this big thing, and it was. But I feel like I made it such a big thing that was it really just me? And you guys being so understanding and very supportive makes me fully believe that it wasn't for nothing, but for the extent that it's gone on, it's definitely gone on too long. My son starts school in a few months, but I was looking forward to the birthday party today. I was. I've been talking to somebody. I've been going, and not getting to Tennessee was a very, very, very huge realization. It just kind of woke you up, and then I don't know. I don't even know how I got here 2 years later. It just all happened so fast. But I do want to come talk about it an extent. I just beauty. I don't. I just being a horrible person. I gotta look the way I see it, and the way I really don't know if I want to go into that talk about it here is the way I see it, and I'm a realism person here, you guys, and the way I see it, it's just none of the people that come up here and talk, none of the people that come talk to me chose to have their loved one to go missing. They didn't put themselves in the position for their loved one to go missing or murdered. I see it as no matter what, my decisions led to, and I did put myself there. And it was my choice to make the decision that I made, even though I know it was right. But that's where you see my conflict there. I just feel like it's a slap in the face to them, if you guys want to be quite frank. If you guys want to be real. I feel like it's a damn slap in the face to every family that reaches out to me for me to come up here and talk about the things that I want to talk about and cry over something that I put myself in and in the end I chose to do. So that's where I'm conflicted. And they tell me I'm crazy. They really do. They do. They say, Ash, for mental health reasons alone, like, because they know they've I've talked to them, and so they do know those things that are making me nervous to speak of. So they are very encouraging. It's just me. To me being me and the way I just see it, that's just such a huge contradiction. So and like you said, like when I made that post the other day, like even the positive vibes were so overwhelming. I didn't even read it for a few days. I couldn't. I made a little post on my personal page and I couldn't read it right away. But when I did, it was just even that was so overwhelming and it was positive. But I'm glad for it. It just brings Arctic that and it, just be and I made a post back when it right after it happened. Right does don't mistake right for it being easy. I think I had a lot of people tell me I would regret what I did, but I can tell you that it was the most just the same. I made the decision to have my first child. I knew it was the most right thing in my life that I did, and my second child. Just the same as I know that it was the most right thing that I could do in my life, giving him up for adoption. And that is one thing I won't ever back down from. It's just the story behind those reasons aren't pretty. And a lot of people could, and it's crazy because, back then, 2 years ago, I'd have been like, I don't give a fuck what you think. I would have, yeah, and it's so easy to say that until you're locked in your house and you can't leave. I went to like I said in that post, I went to my best friend's house. This girl I've known since kindergarten. And we became very close in high school, and we've been in each other's lives ever since. Um, I mentioned, you know, I feel like I've always bent before, and when I bent, I would go talk. it was just something that I'm a talker. I was always open. You can ask me anything. I'm an open book. That's what makes this all so much more strange. But she, like I said, she was there, when I grew up. I had somebody do something that wasn't, I went to talk about it. It was on the record. Um, you know, that was when I was very little. It was never really dealt with. Just family dynamic. I think after that's happened, like everything you go through, I think led up to this point for me. Like everything just became so aware. Everything became into play because I can tell you, I will be lying if I said it wasn't financial, y'all. I will not be lying. Of course, anybody you think about kids, it's always about if you can afford them. But I'll tell you right now, that's something that could have been fixed. When I had my first, when I had my second, um, yeah, you adjust. To me that could be fixed. It just what it came down to. It was me. It was me. And no matter amount of medicine, resources, at the end of the day, it was me and my red flags. And I'm very lucky. But I tried to go to her, and that's what I'm trying to say is I'm not saying I'm self-aware because I wasn't. I didn't tell my husband until I was what I thought was 6.5 months, but here I was really 7.5 months. But I didn't know because I didn't go to the OB, and it wasn't for a lack of my family and friends urging me to go. But what could they do? Pick my heifer ass up at the time and take me, shove me in the car and force me to go? But I was a whole month more pregnant than I thought I was. But you know what? If we're being really honest, it was my third pregnancy. There was a point in time where I realized that I shouldn't be feeling all of these things that I'm feeling at this point. And I still didn't go. So I was talking to somebody earlier, it was a running joke. Ash, you gonna get in there, or are you gonna just walk up to the hospital and have this bad boy? And I'd be like, it was my third one, and we'll just, meet him there. But that's just how much in denial I was. Yeah. So I tried, and it's not a very pretty story. And with everything that's happening in the media right now, the last thing I want to do is turning it into a Roe versus Wade because I'm not saying I'm neutral. I'm not saying I'm anything. I'm saying I do have faith. I believe in God. And you know what? I'm just not a black and white person. It's not black and white. It's a lot of gray. And if you talk to anybody, no matter what situation they're in, I bet you they can come with a gray area story, and it's not so black and white as it seems. But I don't want to turn it into that because I'm telling you, you hear my story, and I mean, I think you'll have a good sense of. But I'm not the right person to say definitively either or, and that's just another reason why I don't know if I want to talk about it. Beauty. We are our own worst critic. I'm pretty sure that, I mean, I've had a few people in the beginning. I joined a group of ladies who have given their child up for adoption, and they were not very nice. Um, I thought this was a group of people that would, in my mind, be totally prone to relating, and they were not very nice because I don't. I'm not saying my story is different, but Just because it was easy and I know it was right doesn't mean that. I mean, I've been in my house for 2 years, almost 2 years, if I don't leave here soon. uh, I had a daughter adopted. I know it hurts, Beauty. You did? I just seen that Arctic and I'm excited that you're back. I am. I just I realized that, and I think, like I said, a lot of the parents, I think, kind of is like, because I'm emotional. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I've just always been. I'm not like, I'm not a. I don't know what you call it. People say it's empath, but to me, I just feel like you grow up the way you do, and you have to watch every single thing in your surrounding, facial, breathing, eyebrows, a nose flare, heart, it just veins in it, just to see, just to read. You just feel, you just see things differently. That's how I feel. I just think you have to check those atmospheres. You gotta. So now I just feel like I step in a room. You gotta. What's this room? What's the vibes up in here? And I'm just usually pretty good at reading them. Is what I amount it to. But I will be emotional up here, and I have been. But it was just different, and me being here, like I'm having all these. This is all, it'll be a year next month on June 10th. So my voice just started cracking a little different, and I got some parents and families reach out to me like, hey, you good? And I'm like, I don't think I am, actually. I don't think it's my choice to be in my house anymore because I very much want to leave. And about 2 weeks ago was probably the first time I cried about it and let everything out. Because in my mind, what's there to cry about? You put yourself there, you went through it, you did what was right. And because it was right, I'm supposed to just be happy and move on and just get back to life. And it's just easier said than done, even though it's right. If the right things to do were always easy, we would have, sorry, a euphoric word. Sometimes doing the right thing is very difficult. I admire you for having the strength to make the right decision for your child. And it's not it's not easy to talk about. But I do, I'm always gonna cry up here. I'm just like, I live by it could happen to me. Maybe a little bit too much. I do. I can very easily put myself in other people's shoes. Maybe too much. Y'all remember that song? And it's been since I was young. Um, Cause y'all know when this song came out, City High. What would you do if your son was at home crying all alone on the bed? Yeah, that one. I listened to that song. How old were y'all when that song came out? We was babies. We was real young. I bawled for weeks. I still can't listen to that song without bawling. I mean, and that's sometimes all it takes. And sometimes you gotta decipher, like, even happy, like, wow, I'm extremely happy right now. Whose feelings are these? Because they're somebody's. And that's just how it is. Sometimes I gotta sift through sometimes and be like, is this what you're feeling, or is this what you kind of picked up? It's kind of crazy. So I'm always going to be that way. And I'm very passionate. But it was just different. And like I said, I think they called it way before I seen it. But no, I tried to go over to my best friend's house. This girl is next to the safest place I know. Like I said, I have bent. Um, we became, I mean, literally, we became close in high school. It wasn't months after we became real close that I was on the phone with her. I was talking to her. She didn't know. She had no clue. Nobody knew. And I done slit my wrist. And I don't, to her, the way she, because I don't remember, I either hung up or I passed out for a second, and I don't know. She went to go get her mom. Her mom was a nurse, is a nurse. Um, she didn't know, but there's something wrong, something wrong, something wrong. She came over, and yeah, she. I ended up having to go get stitches. If they said I would have went a little deeper, I wouldn't have been here. And at the time, like, I'm like, oh, I can't even do that, right? I was just very. But after that, even when that happened, I went to go get help. I went to talk. I went to do what I needed to do because I don't ever, look back, I don't even think it was ever right. I just, I don't like, I don't know. But like I said, she was a safe person I know, and I tried to go over to her house about 2 weekends ago, and I could only stay for a little bit, and we were both shocked that I actually stayed for the amount of time that I did. But that was just when I think about 2 weeks ago. I think that's when it, like, I had this plan to go to Tennessee, and I'm like, I can't even go to cross town to my best friend's house. How am I going to go down there with all these people? And it's not that I don't know them, because it was starting to get to me at my best friend's house. And in my mind, that visual is supposed to be for them. Geez, they haven't gotten that, to do this. So I go down, and all I can see is just me having an episode. And it's not supposed to be, I don't know. That beauty, that, I think that question alone is what kept me inside when I first gave him up for adoption. um because that was it. It wasn't even the big talk. It was just the simple questions of, oh, hey, how you doing, how's life, oh, how many kids you got. How do I answer that? Do I say I have two? Do you say you have two kids, or do you say you have three? And then it's just the need to explain yourself so much just is immediate. So I just avoided it. I think I just avoided anything that could lead back to, and then why? And I just wasn't ready. And I don't. So when I did, I tried to tell it once. Like I said, I went into this group, and I just thought, it was automatic that they would be people that would understand, and pretty much what you guys did, you know, and this all the people in my bubble that I let in did. But these ladies were in my mind, and I was very naive. I just, and because of course while I was in there, you read their stories, and then so I shared my story, and it was not accepting. I don't. The only thing different I felt about mine was I wasn't somebody that was in I have a husband, I have kids, I'm married. And I was very aware of the fact that just me as a human, it was me. It's me. No matter, it's me. It was me. Um, Even the things that me and my husband talked about, there's some things that he didn't agree with in the beginning. And, he, of course, blamed himself. If I was this, if I was that. And I just had to make him very aware of, I don't care how many nannies we bring in. I don't care how much, them kids are still mine. And there's going to be moments where I am doing it with no help. It's inevitable. It's like, I mean, they're still my responsibility. And my red flags were just saying that I, it was just me. I will say that I went from before my before my oldest came along, I had 4 miscarries. My first miscarry being I was about 2.5 months old, or two, 2.5 months pregnant. So I went from feeling like I was never going to have a kid to what did I get myself into? So I think it's a very strange. I understand where of that group of ladies that I joined. I understand after seeing some of their posts and how things happened for them. I understand. My difference of opinion with them was only the fact that they said that I was taken advantage of, that I was just depressed, that I should have had the resources given to me. And I will tell you, I had every resource out there. I mean, on that side of things, they were the best people. I and that just even more how lucky I was through it all. Just but like I said in that post, one of the things that they kept saying was, it was very beautiful, but it was also very unique. The agents involved and the lawyers between them, they all had about 30 years in their careers, and they never seen anything like it. And at the time, I really did. I thought it was awesome, and it was beautiful in the end, and how things happened. But the unique part, I fully understood what they meant after I joined that group, and I get it. But I wasn't taken advantage of. I wasn't depressed, and I did have those resources because those people made damn sure that I wasn't just depressed. They made sure that I had every option available there was before I did what I did. So I don't. And if we do ever get into that, uh, I don't. The only thing I can say of where they truly just didn't understand is just through it all, through everything I tried to do, through everything that happened, through everything that I felt, through everything, I waited. I tried to tell myself that it would just come. It's going to come. It'll come. That saying, the patient, all of it, all of everything you need to do this again, it'll come in time. And my red flags are saying no. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. I just didn't understand why. It's just a lot. But when it kind of, no, that's not how it was going to be for me. I didn't know what was going to happen. But no, 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 no. Everything that you're trying to tell yourself right now, that's not how it's going to be. And yeah. So by the time I did meet his parents, like I said, I do have faith. Now, I never understood what that was until now. I always thought there was something wrong with me. Because no matter how much I felt him, no matter how much I went to church, no matter how much I believed and wanted to, I knew I was missing something. And me, being me, I have no other excuse for it. Just, I wouldn't have done it if it wasn't for him. It was him. But that does not mean I was perfect. I have a degree in human. For adoption, and in the end, it was a whole lot worse. I made a beauty. I made this post, and at the end of one of my lives, I kind of talked about it, and I dropped her link. Because, one of the person, and this is the only person I've ever felt that way about, and it's not because I don't agree with the outcome, and I'm not saying my outcome would have been that outcome. I'm saying it was enough for me to not know what the outcome would have been, to not risk it, because these are my kids, and but one of the people that kept going through my mind was Andrea Yates. No, did I think I was gonna? But I bet you, and I know I followed her forever. I've dove in, I've deep dived into that way before this ever happened. And I've always felt bad for her, worse for them kids. And you know what? The only thing I could say about her is, of all the other situations that this happened in, they're all trying to get out. And I could probably guarantee you that Andrea's support team could probably make a good case for, but she doesn't want to. She denies and she, it happened. She knows it happened, and I believe she knows that's where she's supposed to be. But my point is that girl, she tried, she spoke out. She had a lot more psychologically wrong with her, but I feel that some of the red flag, like the unknown, and I have this reference, like, and everything played a part in it. The way I grew up, we were raised by a hard hand, to say the least. And anybody in those situations, when you have kids, it's a fine line. And no, I don't. I've never said to myself, am I being like my parent? Nothing like. But you ask yourself, it's a worry when you become parents, and then it's just, I think everything came into play for me. Everything became clear. And yeah, she was a very, very stark reminder of the unknown for me. And this is my kids. I don't know how deep I'm going to talk about it in, but I know that I said the worst to you and you're here. And I was very nervous. M is who I have been talking to. Um, and she's, if I felt the need to talk about the in full, she's offered to come talk about the parts that may not be pretty to talk about, so I don't sit and bawl like a baby. And I told her I still might. I just never. She was the first time I went and told those details too. So I said, if you want me on your page, you might want to hear what I have to say, because I don't want to ruin your page on top of people hating me. Hi, Rev J. Grabbing my tripod. Yeah. It's just so many things that aren't pretty about it. Gosh, it's easy to talk about the beautiful moments. Uh, when I met his parents, so what happened was, I didn't go to the OB until I thought it was 6.5 months. Um, you know, I had, like I said, I had 4 miscarriages. My first, I was 2.5 months. And then it was like after that, no longer. I found out 2 weeks got in, I was miscarrying. Um, it just got to the point where I was just like, if this is going to keep happening, please God, don't let this happen. And hey, and it literally was about, oh, why isn't adding you? It says it added you. There it goes.
I'm gonna turn this down.
When about 2 months after that, my oldest came.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's usually the problem.
Alrighty.
Hi.
I can hear you. It's a little break. It might be because of hold on, it might be these Bluetooth.
Are you on your phone? I know if you click from YouTube on your phone, the link, you have to click out of the other window or it'll echo. I don't know for sure. I'm just guesstimating. I'm not technologically advanced at all.
I'm not either. Like not even a little bit.
But
Not
Lisa,
even
when
a
she
little
comes on, that's what she does. And I send it through her messenger, because if she comes on the YouTube link, it'll be an echo. And I
bit.
always
Is
tell
there
her
an
she's got to
echo on
clear out
the
her cache.
is there an is it now on my
No,
end
I
because
don't think you are. I don't think you
I'm
are.
disconnected, I can hear you clear as a bell. We're good on
Uh,
my end.
yeah, I don't know how gritty. I don't know.
You sounded great on my end. You sound good on my end. So as long as everybody can hear me and you can hear me, we're good. I disconnected my headphones. I know that's part of it.
Yeah, I've been talking a little bit about it, because honestly, because I was just so shocked that you guys have just been. And honestly, I've been hoping to find some people that would can relate very much. And when I joined that group, I thought I had found that. And I
This
understand where they were coming from. I do. Because, I mean, when I met, I went from, having like I was saying, having the miscarriages and not thinking I was going to have. And then I had my two.
did they ever find out why you were having? Did you have like a condition that was causing The
I don't
mixture?
know. It was not, well, I always had abnormal, like, pap smears and stuff. But nobody ever checked it out. My first OB with my first one, I don't think she ever looked into it. So when I got to this OB, because I had the same OB with my last two, um, she just happened to look deeper. Um, no, it was my first. It was right after I had my first one. No, so it was my first OB. Yeah. She just happened to take a deeper look, and I had precancer cells all over my cervix, really bad. And I don't know
Yeah, that
if
could have been
that's
one too.
associate, but it was in, if anybody out there is familiar, I was a sin 3 category, which is the worst category. She thought like 6 months later she was gonna have to take my cervix,
Wow.
but it's got like I did like oh my gosh, I don't know what's it.
Biopsy.
It was
A
some kind
biopsy.
of a leap procedure. Leap,
Yeah,
maybe
I
is
had to
what
have one
they
of
did
those
it.
done too
Yeah. Okay.
when I was 16. They go in and they scrape a
Yes.
little bit off the cervix and check it because I had precancerous cells too. My
Yeah.
mom ended up having ovarian cancer when my son Tristan, and he's 13 now. No, I'm sorry. Oh my gosh, he's taking driver's ed. He's 15. He would be like, "Mom," he's 15. When he was just a baby, my mom had ovarian cancer, and by the time they called it, she was stage 3, and it had spread all the way up to her appendix, so she had to have a complete hysterectomy,
Oh
and
yeah.
then went through treatment and everything. She's still in remission, but she is worried right now that something is going on again. So she's supposed to go to the doctor soon, and I hope everything's okay with that. My mom's a pretty tough lady.
Uh,
I think a lot of cancer, a lot of that too, really, really, your survival depends on like your mental state and your ability to stay positive and in a positive state of mind. Because if you let that negativity come in there, I mean, cancer in and of itself is a negative entity, and if you let it come in, negative energy come in and feed off of that, then it's going to happen. If
hell,
you
at
tell
that
you
time.
sit there and think that, you're going, and my mom is not like that. I took her in and took care of her while she was going through that. I wouldn't let her even tell herself that that was a possibility. I was like, you're not doing that. What you're going to do is you're going to get up, we're going to eat, we're going to go for a walk. And if you need to smoke, then you can do that before you lay down or whatever. But this whole negative thought, and part of that negative thought is my dad. He's a carries a dark negative energy all the time. It's just the way he is. So I literally would not even let my dad talk to my mom for a while. I was like, no,
Yeah.
Dad, not move like you're not talking to mom today. Sorry. Not sorry, because mom's still here. And I really do believe in that. Like the mental health,
Oh,
mental health state and positive thinking. And that's a lot easier said than done, especially for me some days. But staying or telling yourself, it could be worse. You could be in a worse situation, and so try to make the best out of that. And I think that's a lot of how I get through all the stuff. Like we've been talking, a lot of the stuff that I've been through is
yeah.
that mindset too. If not, oh my gosh, I don't know where the hell I know I'd probably be in a nut house somewhere. That's probably where I'd be.
Oh, I will be. Yeah.
So,
I'll be honest. I've been there a time or two. But that's the
but
thing. I always went and I talked to people. But then about 13 years ago, I went in and I had somebody take advantage of that. So the past 2 years, I have not gone anywhere. I have not gone back since then. And I think that's really just made it worse because I am a talker. I want to figure out what the
but
hell is wrong with
when the
me.
trust doesn't happen, that's a huge thing that to this day is an issue and a problem for me from childhood trauma and things that have happened to me even in my adult life, like douchebag dudes and all that shit. Is that trust is a huge thing for me. So being able
Yeah.
to open up and talk
Yeah.
to people, and especially at the level like we have been, is super hard. Super hard because you always that state of vulnerability. You're worried about is someone taking advantage of that, and of
Yeah.
course that's happened, and you don't want to go through that again. But you also don't want them to win, and they will. They win if you shut down and you stay in and you don't go out and you don't share your story and you don't let yourself heal from that experience, then they win. And I cannot let a motherfucker win that has done some shit like that. No, you ain't. no.
It's so hard because that's what I was saying is I used to not give. I mean, my whole friends family system will tell you if you don't want the truth, if you don't want, don't go ask
Oh,
because
yeah, don't go ask me.
I would not be afraid to tell you, and not even in a mean way. If you're
Yeah,
asking
it's
me,
like
I'm going to
sometimes I
tell
don't
you. I'm
even
not going
need
to
to.
sugarcoat it.
Yeah,
But
like
now, beauty, I did have the leap procedure. But the thing about mine is I had been having abnormal since Jesus. I was 18, so I was already pregnant. I was. What did I go in for? Why did she check? What was she
did you
doing?
have an abnormal pap smear?
I think it was just a pap smear and it came up normal, but there wasn't anything that she could do about it until after
They did
I
that
had
procedure.
I had him. So look, he was 3 months old when I went in to figure out what it was, and that's when she found out. I was going through STNA clinicals at the time, and I got the call while I was there, and they're like, "Can you come in right now?" And I'm like, I'm in clinicals. I can't leave. They're like, if you could, we'd really appreciate it. And I'm like, I can't. If I leave, I lose my clinical hours. So I had to go in the next day. I'll tell you what, that whole waiting period, I'm thinking
Oh,
about my funeral. Like, Lord, why would you let me go through four miscarriages, have him, and I'm
I
gonna
was
die,
16.
and he's 3 months old, and I'm like, these terrible
And they're
things were
so
happening.
their bedside manner when they call is just it's fucking terrible. Whenever they
So
called
I
me,
was
I'm like
on.
16 and I'm in the car with my parents and they're like, they didn't even sugarcoat. They're like, we think you have cancer. You need to come in and get tested. I'm like, what? What do you mean you think I have cancer? Like, that's insane. How did I can't believe you would just call me and tell me something like this over the phone, but yes, I'll be in. Like, yeah. But and then it turned out everything was fine. But
She
doctor
thought she thought she was going to when we did the leap procedure. Um, it was so bad. She even took like a when she went in first. She explained it. She's like, I'm gonna have to take a nice sized chunk of your cervix, but I'm gonna try really really hard not to. But and then after we did it and she realized how bad it was. After she removed him, she told me she was like, I'm not saying nothing, but you're a sin 3. Um, Normally in these situations, we just usually prepare to take your cervix from here. But at that point, I had already been through all the miscarriage. I had my baby.
But had you
I
had
was
you when you had your kids?
I was good. I was good. I finally got him. So I was just like, take it. Take everything if you need to. I need to be
I'm
here for
still
him.
trying to do that, and I've been fixed, and I'm still like, are y'all sure y'all don't want to take this? Because
Yeah.
I'm ready. You have it. Y'all do whatever you need to. Just go ahead, take it. I don't need it. I'm done.
I
I'm
think the
pretty done.
biggest thing though with telling my story about, my adoption is through it all and what I came to terms with, I do have faith and I grew that. I found out what it really meant to like give it to him, give it to God because I didn't have any other choice. But the thing I think where it hits people wrong is I'll tell you what, how I went down is I told I finally broke down. I went to the OB. I thought I was 6.5 months pregnant. Here I was 7.5 months pregnant. And which is crazy to me because I always knew when I was pregnant, my pregnancies, even the ones I miscarried, I was morning sickness.
You
It
know
was
you know
literally
your
like we
body.
screwed. And I woke up the next morning and I'm like, babe, I'm pregnant. Blah. And he's like, no, you're not. And I'm like, blah, yes, I
Yeah,
am.
yeah. I
Like,
know. Yeah,
that's just
I'm the same way. I'm like, don't you get near me with that. I don't want to get pregnant anymore. Stay away.
so I knew. And so the fact that, like, and I'm always regular, everything is always good.
Yeah,
So for me to be a whole month more pregnant than
yeah.
than I
So then you're
was
even
just
panicking even
crazy because
more because you're not prepared.
I wasn't late. I just had like everything was fine. So just, I mean, I was telling you literally the day before I found out, can't my youngest. See, and that's the thing. How do you even explain? Like,
Yeah,
so I say to him, like,
yeah.
how do you, I don't know.
I still haven't. I still haven't got to that part yet with now when my daughter had my granddaughter, I went down there and I stayed with the state. I wasn't there for the birth of my granddaughter because of COVID. And got to meet her for the first time when she was 3 months old. So I went to stay with my daughter because her husband was deployed. And during that week that I was down there, we talked about a lot of stuff that I'm sure that she had questions for me probably from early on, but she just didn't know how to ask. And a lot of them had to do with her brother. And I asked her if he'll ask her occasionally, like and he always calls us mom and dad, even though when I do meet, I would tell him, like, you can call me that if that's what you want to, especially given the circumstances of his adoptive mother being, but I would prefer him to call me my name or mother because I did not raise him into the wonderful man that he has turned into. Like, I low-key stalk him on Instagram, so that's a confession right there, and he probably knows. If he ever sees this video now, he knows your mom's been stalking you for quite some time on it. But there's nothing. I literally don't know anything more about him than I did before I found out he was on his Instagram. He is so private. It isn't even funny.
Yeah.
It's so private. But he'll ask about me and his dad, and him and my daughter. They communicate, and they've known about each other since they were like before they were walking. They knew about each other.
Yeah.
It was an open adoption.
Yeah, mine is. Yeah.
Yeah. It was the whole process. That experience was. Well, there was a lot of anxiety leading up into whenever I placed him up and all that. But being able to vet the parents and actually pick the parents and then meet them beforehand and all that stuff is extremely helpful in me being confident and able to place him the way I did. And I'm super happy. It turned out really good, and I couldn't be more happy with the parents. And even though they've had their own circumstances, and like I was telling you yesterday, unfortunately, his mom, she passed away in 2020. I think it was August of 2020, or maybe the end of July of 2020. And so I had not got to see her since then. I had not got to tell her thank you. I had not got to tell her so many things, and that's super hard. I'm sure that there's probably things that she would want to talk to me about or tell me too that she never got to. And that sucks. And I think that has a lot to do with why why he still hasn't reached out yet. That's the first time I've ever done that. That's a huge slip, but he has not reached out to me, and I can fully understand why. Like, especially if he talks to Holly, my daughter, about me, and like me being a teen mom, growing up with a mom that's like literally 15 years apart from you, can have its ups and downs. Definitely have its downs at times, especially the older she got. So like, I'm sure that he is probably a little apprehensive about meeting his mom, who I have no doubt, depending on who he talks to and on her dad's side of the family, they have deemed me as like batshit crazy, but that's not true. Not even, I mean, it might be a little bit true about some things, but it's not overall true.
Just a little bit.
It's not overall true, but it's about the things that I'm passionate about. I seem like I'm batshit crazy about, but I'm really not. And I genuinely,
I'm sure people could say the same for me. All my friends and my family, they'll be like, yeah, you could tell she's passionate.
Yeah. Oh, what is your, when's your birthday?
October 9th.
So your sign is what? Virgo?
Libra. I'm a balance. Everything has to be balanced. It's the balance.
And the yin and the yang is like one of my like favorite go-to things. Like all of my art has to do with either that or the elements like the earth, air, fire, water, astrology, all that stuff. Like super into that stuff. Because I believe we're all connected, and I believe it, especially after the COVID thing, it should be apparent to people how much we really are connected, because of the way we are able to see into things more, and we have that like third eye. Well, some of us do. Some of us are still walking around with our heads so far up our asses.
Arctics.
But a lot of us are coming to that realization. Like I said, I don't believe in coincidences either. I don't.
I mean, the way things happen
for a reason. We may not always find the reason out, in our lifetime, but everything happens for a reason. Everything happens for a reason. Like the life path that we're on and everything that happens that falls into place, whether if through like things that we do or decisions we make, it's all supposed to happen the way it ends up happening. I truly believe that.
I
And
tell
yes,
you what, all the times in my life where I literally would yell at God, like, I am trying, like, and I made a post about it. My biggest thing was, is I have faith there. I have felt him so much. Like he
oh
was
yeah,
literally speaking to me. But where I struggled was, and I didn't understand, and I felt like I couldn't possibly be a true Christian if I didn't understand how to give it to God. And like I made a post last year about it, learning what that meant. And it was just back then growing up, it was just like, well, that seems easy. And do I wrap it in a bow? Like, do I give it to him as a gift? Do I like set it at his door? How do I give it to him? Like, how do I do that? And
oh people would y'all would
this
just
year, going through this, all of my friends, I call them my Jesus freak friends. I love them. I don't know. I was such a rebel and they loved me anyways. And but
that's
they
cool.
did. It was never easy for them, and they tried to explain it to me and they never could. But I know now. I know what they meant. I know because it wasn't easy. It wasn't taken from me, and that's what I thought. Like, I'll give it to God. It's not my problem anymore. Here you go. Good luck with that. See you later.
Yeah.
And
He's like,
I
that's
can
not how this works. So let me send that back to you in another email.
Yeah, it's just like but all the times where I would scream at him and like, take it. Why aren't you listening? Like all of those moments, I feel played. It led up to this, made me strong enough to do that.
Yeah.
And I do. And like I said, when I met his parents, how it happened is when I finally went to the OB. I mean, she was my OB for um, Cam, my second child, and she knew very, very, very well how scared I was, even having him. When I had Ollie for a while, he was very much enough for me and my plate. Like I can handle this. But for him, like I grew up with, I have 8 siblings. There was 5 of us that lived in the house. There was gaps. My younger sister, she's like 7 6 7 years in that gap age is just, she it
It
was
does make a difference though. It
so
makes a huge difference.
and Ollie has two, like I was telling you, he does have two older brother and sister, but they're 12 13 years old. There's that gap. So he's
Yeah.
pretty much an only child. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
when it came to my second kid, it was more for him, but I could do it. I wanted him. And honestly, when I was pregnant with my second child, me and my husband, I kicked him out. I was telling you, he was, and it
I'm
was
like,
never, it
when I
was,
read that, I was like, wow. And I thought I was BA.
but it was never
But I mean, you
about,
gotta keep
I
your foot
can't
down.
do this. It
You
was,
have to let them know, like, this is not acceptable. You gotta go. And then they usually, most of the time, they learn from it.
yeah,
Honestly.
and we're good now. Like we went through, and even then though, it wasn't a question of, I can't do it. It's going to be hard. I'm going to have to buckle down. It's going to be financial. I'm scared. I'm going to be alone. But nothing ever said that. Nothing ever told me what it told me this time around. And out of all the confusion, so I went to the OB. By the time I got in there, like she was like my therapist when I had my second one. Like, this is it. I'm done. I signed the papers after I had my second one to have my tubes taken. And for whatever reason, you know, I I didn't go back. You had to wait that 30 days. And by then, I'm working. I got 2 kids now. I just I
And
didn't go. And so when I went into her, she was just like, "Oh, Ash." And like Arctic Fox was saying, like, I have stories I could tell you about the bluntness of some doctors. Like, yeah, me too. But I'm telling you, my OB, she was amazing. By the time I went in there, she first mentioned it then, when I found out I was having a boy, and when I realized I was 7.5 months pregnant, I told her, I don't know. And she mentioned it, and I shot it down immediately. I was almost offended. Like, no, this is my problem. I got myself in this situation. This is my mistake. I will figure it out. I don't know how, but I will.
That's the guilt that as a mom, I think we all have that um, perpetuates the problem that we have with not wanting to talk about this in particularly is like we're the mom.
It
We
was
got
so
ourselves in this situation
offensive.
and it's
Yeah.
now our responsibility to deal with it no matter what. And it's like, no, that's not necessarily true
Yeah.
because the no matter what has implications after the fact. And those we've seen, like in the case, like you're talking about, Andrew, like, dude, and I got to admit, like, I had not looked at her case at all in any way other than like, that woman is a monster. Like, until talking to you and then reflecting back on like so many things that
Because
I was just like, I boohooed for like freaking ever today before we got. I had to. I was like, that's why I had to leave and go get ice cream. I was like, I gotta get out of the house for a second, absorb everything, and then process it, and then we can talk about it because it's a lot. It's a lot, but it's so important to talk about.
I thought about her a lot more than it's very shameful, but also it was
No,
very
because
real.
those women, though, they went through those things, albeit unfortunate and horrible circumstances for the kids, especially involved. But
Yeah, she is.
as a starting point for us to have these conversations
Yeah.
so that change comes about, so that in the future, this does not have to continue to happen because there are so many outlets that should be available, that are available, that need to be available. They're just not really talked about that could have prevented that. And we know that. Like, we know that.
I
Like
just,
whenever I was pregnant with Miles, and they did the amniocentesis so that they could confirm what they had already suspected during the first ultrasound, which was that he had Down syndrome. They were so upfront, and so it pissed me off the way they said it to me. It was like, well, we want to do it that way. That way, if you want to have an abortion, I was like,
uh,
like no, no. But then everything that happened with that, I went through my own like me and God, we had it out. Like I
yeah,
I would come
yeah.
back and be like, look, I'm sorry. We need to talk. I mean, I know I said some stuff, but I'm going through some stuff. So we need to talk about this and then go back and forth. And to this day, that is how my relationship, because my daughter asked me when I was down there, like, so what would you consider yourself religious or like what? I was like, I'm spiritual. Like I don't like label myself as any like I grew up though going to church as a kid. I had a horrible experience going to church. That's a whole other story. But so then, and after everything that happened with Miles, and then having my kids going through the experiences that I've had after losing Miles and leaving my ex and coming to where I am now, like it's a spiritual place because me and God have had such a very interpersonal and intimate exchange of words at different times over the years. That's how I look at it. Like I'm aware there's a source. There is no denying that there is a source above that is over all of us. And I truly feel for people that walk through life thinking there isn't one. I'm like, how does that even happen?
Yeah.
How does that even work? Like, how are
Yeah.
you here and you?
I mean, I've questioned through the things that I've been through, but I've never
Yeah.
been. I always knew
And you
that
can
I
feel
believe,
that
but
there's like a palpable present feeling, although you can't see it, you can feel it. Because I
I
remember
just felt
that
like
morning.
I was a fraud because I didn't have this faith that they all spoke of. And so,
Oh no, I didn't even know how strong my faith was until that morning that I got the phone call from the hospital. I hung up with the nurse. I grabbed my Bible, which I always kept on my nightstand. I grabbed my Bible and I instantly started praying. And I asked God, I said, I don't care what it is, whatever you have to do to make him stop suffering. Like I did not want my kid to suffer any more than he had for those 10 days. From the time he was born up until the day he passed away was of absolute struggle for him. And that morning was awful. And when they called me and told me what was going on and that I needed to get up there, like I was just like, this, you got to do something. Either you make it all right now, or you just make it stop, because I can't. I can't watch him go through that anymore. When he was born, he weighed 6 pounds, and when he passed away because of like all the fluid that
Yeah.
he had gained
Yeah.
in the surgery, he weighed like 10 pounds. He was so swollen, like, and this
Yeah.
is more graphic trigger warning for people that are listening. His ears they were like, they stuck out away from his head just because he was so swollen. Like, I could not watch him. I could not. So then, of course, after going through that, I'm leaving the hospital that day. I'm coming out of the hospital like, this is not what we talked about. And he's like, this is what you asked for. And I'm like, this is not what we talked about, God. He's like, this is what you asked for. And I'm like, no, it's not. He's like, yes, it is. And so it was like that for literally a year of me going back and forth, like, that's not what I asked for. And knowing in the back of my head, it's like, Emma, that is exactly what you asked for. And you know, that that's probably the right thing, that it had to happen, because he really was suffering. And what he had was this rare colon disease that they caught it when he was like 3 days old. Then he had to have surgery. They removed like 2/3 of his colon. And so that, plus he had Down syndrome. And with people that have Down syndrome, they have one of, most of the time, they have one of two certain types of the ventricle heart defect. And Miles was the more severe, where it had all four walls, all four chambers of the heart. There was a hole in each wall as it goes around like a square. So there's a hole
Yeah.
in the walls. They were going to have to repair that when he was like 3 months old. So, like, this kid really was born with struggle, coming out fine. And he gave it, like, literally gave it his absolute all. And I did not want to put him through any, out of my own selfish stuff, like the need to, like, keep him here. And his quality of life after that, had he survived, like, the things that I still think about to this day, and think the woulda, coulda, shoulda, that stuff messes with me from time to time. And also it did when I was going to place him for adoption. Like, what if I put him in a family that abuses him, or
Yeah.
something horrible happens? You know, like,
Yeah.
that really messed with me all the way up until, like, even after meeting them. It's like, you don't know what goes on behind closed doors.
Yeah.
Like, they can look and act a certain way all day long in front of you. That does not mean that is what's going on
See, and
inside.
that's where I
I
think
worry
for
about that.
me it's a little different, because after I went in there and she mentioned it, I shot it down. But I could tell, and she didn't push it, my OB, she did not. But she knew that, by just what we talked about previous with my second kid, when I went in there, and she was just like, oh. So I shot it down. I was offended. She scheduled me for 2 weeks later to come back in. And from that meeting to the next time I seen her, that's when I finally told my husband how I was feeling. And that's where I
It's your
when I think of
communication is
Andrea
so,
Yates, she tried to tell everybody. And as far as the healthcare that supported her, yes, they could have done more, but they did do. And this is just me speaking from my experience. Me, it wouldn't have mattered if my pastor was telling me to anything. It wouldn't have mattered what the OB was saying. It wouldn't have mattered what the doctors were saying. It wouldn't have mattered. It would have mattered what my husband
yeah,
said, what it came down to.
yeah. You were waiting to see what he had to
If
say,
he
because his
told me,
opinion above all the others mattered more
yeah.
than anybody else's.
And
He's
I
the one
think
that
that's
held that job.
where I'm not saying he should be blamed and he should be, and he should have. I'm very lucky that no matter how my husband was feeling, he's seen me. He's seen the love I had for my children. He heard the things that I were telling him, and he listened to me.
I think I can't even tell you how freaking awesome I think that is. Like, oh my goodness, I'm like,
I
the world
can't.
needs dudes like that.
I can't
It,
tell you how scary it because I don't know. Like, I don't know if he didn't. And
yeah.
I'm very, 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 because I'm
Oh my
telling you,
goodness.
all
Oh
of the,
my
no matter
goodness. I'm
what the
thinking
OB
about that. I'm
was
like, oh
saying,
my God.
no matter what anybody was telling me, if he would have said, no, we're going to keep it,
Yeah.
I don't,
It just, yeah. Yeah.
I don't know what,
Yeah.
for real. And
That is so heavy,
that's
dude.
where it separates, because I feel like if he would have just listened to his wife and
Yeah.
seen, because she took care of them kids, she loved them kids, and I guarantee you, starting out, she never thought she was going to find herself. But when she started realizing, she did speak. She didn't keep it to herself. Everybody knew.
Um,
But I'm
are
telling you,
you
her
familiar with
husband,
the Gannon? Are you with Gannon Stout and Letitia Stout, that case?
yeah,
She was trying to tell people that she could not take care of them kids by herself while I was away all the time, and nobody was listening. And now, don't get me wrong, I still don't like that woman. She
yeah,
rubs me all the wrong
yeah.
way. Like, oh, and there's
That
just some
is,
things that, like, I don't care how stressed you are. Like, walk off. That's a kid. Walk off. Like,
yeah.
but
That
at the
woman
same
is a
time,
whole,
I
like I
can't.
said,
You know, honestly
Andrea's
say because
case is the
I can't
only,
say until I've been in those shoes. You know, like.
her case is the only case that I
But how many
feel
kids did
that
she
way
have? 7
towards.
kids, right? 7?
And I
Andrea,
know,
wasn't
huh?
it 7?
Huh?
Wasn't Andrea Yates, didn't she have 7 kids?
No, she had five, but she snapped, and that's my thing. Is like,
Oh, yeah.
I'm not saying that that's what, I'm
But
just saying
postpartum
that
depression and like,
I didn't know, and it was enough for me. I knew with all my other kids, it wasn't the same feeling. It was totally different. And I was very much scared to tell my husband. I mean, back when I first got pregnant, I told you how that went. Um, he did not agree with with that scenario, but he did stand behind me because he realized, what I was saying and how I was feeling, regardless, was
yeah.
very,
That's, I
very
mean,
alarming.
when
The
it's
red
so,
flags.
so serious that you, and so strong that you feel the need to say something to your partner like that, like, men, y'all need to understand when your women are telling y'all this stuff, she would not be telling you that if it was just a thought that she had one
He
time.
knew nothing of it. When I told him, he
If
was
it was
like,
just one time thought that she thought that one time and it just was like, whoop, and it was gone and it never came back in her head again, she would never say nothing to you about it. The fact
mm-mm.
that she's saying something to you about it is because it has occurred multiple times and it's probably been going on for way longer than we will ever want to admit. So
It
you need to be
was
paying
so
attention when the
hard
women are
because,
talking to
like,
you.
I'm not single. It's not me here by myself. I can't handle all the. I just feel like I'm not the stereo. My situation wasn't.
Well, mine wasn't either. I wasn't single, but I wasn't in a, like, we weren't married and we weren't in a committed relationship. And I was 16. Like I said, I was 16. I just turned 16, and my daughter was 6 months old whenever I got pregnant with him. So like they're literally 9 months and no 9 months and yeah 9 months to the day. 15 months. They're 15 months apart. Yeah, 15 months to the day apart. My two kids, my first two are. So yeah, I and they know this because I've talked to my kids about this now that they're all older. Like, I was born with no patience and I did not want children. I did not ever plan on having children. And God was like, too bad. Psh, here you go. Have
See,
four,
I
guys.
was the same until I got pregnant. My first time,
I'm
it was pregnant, and
every time it's a surprise. Like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. How did this happen?
I got pregnant my first time, and I was 2.5 months pregnant when I lost him, and that's when I realized, like, I could change my ways to have, like, that's when I changed. I was like, I do want this, and I can settle down and change, and I did. When my first came, I drank so much back then for the first 3 years of his life. I didn't touch anything because I was so afraid that those two lives would intertwine. I didn't pick up a beer. I didn't do nothing. I stayed on nothing. I was so scared. But when I realized that I was strong enough and I could separate the two, yeah, now I'll have drinks here and there. But yeah, I went
I had
from,
it. I had my dad is an alcoholic, and so I
yeah,
grew up
my
like
stepdad
that.
grew up, he was an alcoholic.
And I had my own ups and downs, especially after Miles first passed away with it, and until I had an incident one day where my children walked in and they found me in like a state that is so embarrassing. And when I woke up and saw that my kids were looking at me, never again. I was like, oh hell no. Now they're, like I said, my son's 15 and my daughter, she's moved off. She's married and she has 2 kids now, so I have 2 grandbabies. Like, no. Every once in a while I'll drink, but just no. Because I'm getting too old for that. And if I fall down and get hurt now, I'm worried I'm gonna break something.
Yeah, yeah. I was not.
Like, no
I was
joke.
scared
I'm
too.
worried I'm gonna break something. I'm not gonna be able to get back up. And I don't have no damn life alert. So
But that's my thing. Like ever since I started having my kid, everything is
that
geared
worries
towards
me
them.
though.
Everything has
And
been.
I'm
Do
worried
I
that I
take
could
it
get
to extreme?
pregnant again.
Like I don't even let strangers babysit my kids. So the fact of when
Hell
people
no.
would mention adoption, it's like in my mind, how do you expect me to sit down with
Yeah.
an album full of strangers and
Yeah.
pick these strangers? And to me, in my mind, keeping him and figuring out if I'm gonna go fucking nuts was easier than putting him out
Doing
there
that.
with the way the system is
Yeah.
and having him come back in
Yeah. And be like, look what you, yeah.
and him have a worse life than I ever
Yeah.
imagined for him.
That is
And I
something
can't
every single
and
day.
that's my thing. I couldn't imagine what life was going to be like.
That's why I did the open adoption note. So that
I got
I could know.
so
So that I could
when I
know.
went to the OB and it came out, you know, I ended I that day I was a monster. It got to the point like I was telling my husband was like, "Who are you?" And I'm like, "I don't even know anymore." And he's like, "What's going on?" And I'm like, "I don't know." And then it finally just came out. So then when I went to the OB and she was like, she had a I was telling you, she had this new trainee.
Don't you just love it when they make you a
It
damn
was her
teacher,
first
Martha?
day in clinicals and she was in. So of course she comes into the room first, and she's preparing me like for the delivery and getting prepared and all this stuff. And I'm just like, well, you know, things have changed, and I really need to talk to the OB. Um, And she's like, "Well, can I tell, you know, what's about?" And I was like, "Oh, you know, just mention who I am. She'll know." And I just tell her I was thinking more about what we talked about last time about what she mentioned. So she goes and gets her. I mean, the look on this trainee's face when I said, you know, I'm thinking about adoption, and I'm 7.5 months away. I'm getting ready to pop, and her face was just like,
Oh yeah. Oh,
dear, like Bambi, like, oh, she was not prepared for it. So she goes and gets her, and she comes back in and she tells me, she was like, she's new. This is her first day. Like, here now. I'm so sorry. I was like, I thought so. That poor
yeah.
girl got a, and
Yes.
she was like,
One
you
has
know,
a relative.
so she's like, so she come back in? And I was like, well, you might as well. I mean,
You're gonna have to learn sometime. At some point, you're gonna have to go through it. Yeah, that's how I
she's
always
gonna
looked at
get
it.
her earful today. And so yeah, she can, and she was wonderful. She actually got to stay. She came in the room, she was there, she set it up to where she followed along the whole journey up into the delivery room, and it was awesome. It really was. They were wonderful people. So when I got in there, you know, in the 2 weeks I had been talking to my husband about it, and I still hadn't told anybody. I didn't tell anybody. So I was talking to a
Not
few
even your
friends
family.
about the adoption. No. Only my
This is the ones
family
who were
really,
pregnant.
my family and close friends at this point. They're really, I mean, if you paid attention, people would know that I was pregnant, but
They
if
weren't
you
really sure.
didn't, you wouldn't know. Nobody knew. Um so I was talking to somebody in that 2 weeks, And, to me, my biggest thing, like I said, was I will keep him because I'm not giving him to strangers. It's just, I'm not doing that. That's so these friends I was talking to, they were like, well, I have a friend, they're married. They're this wonderful couple. They have been trying for 8 years to and, they had gotten their hopes up a few times, and they, the people had backed out. And but to me, it was just like they were real. They weren't just some strangers in a book that I knew nothing about. People knew them. They
Yeah.
were in church. They were
And they
wonderful
could vouch
people.
for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I went to and they were through an adoption agency, and they gave me the name. So I tried to go online and I tried to look it up. I'm not very good. I couldn't find their profile. So
I went to an adoption agency too.
when I was in the office with her, with the OB, I mentioned the adoption agency name, and she was like, wow. She was like, that's pretty much the only agency that I go through. I love them. They're wonderful people.
Was it
So,
Bethany Christian Services?
huh?
Bethany Christian Services is the adoption agency. I don't know if I'm pretty sure they operate, I know they operate here in North Carolina. I think they also have agencies outside of the state of North Carolina, but that's
This
the agency.
it's called Open Arms Adoption. Open Arms.
Was your adoption open too?
Yes, it's very, and that's another reason. Like when I joined that group, I realized just how lucky I got, because it doesn't always go the way open is supposed. I was very naive, so I understand where they feel like, as similar as their situations were. Mine was just a little different, and it was, and as tragic as they said mine was, I feel like theirs was very heartbreaking. Like theirs were the reason why I don't want to come up and tell mine, because it's just, yeah, the beginning of mine was very but by the end of it, it was just so beautiful and different. When I was in there, she said that, I know that. So she went online. She went to the adoption online website, and she pulled up their profile.
Mm-hmm.
So
I love that these agencies make the couples do that. It is so important for us as birth mothers that are placing the kid up to be able to do that. To be able to feel confident enough to give our child to you. Like, you're complete strangers. That is our child. And we're doing what we feel is what, for one, that is the right thing to do as a human being. Two, based on how society looks at us too, like we're not savages, and we understand the responsibility that it takes to be a mother. And we also understand that sometimes we're in situations and circumstances that we're not able to do that, but we have fudged up, and this is what we've got to do. The last thing we need is some crap like that to happen. So it is so important that y'all do that, and that you are there's that clarification, that transparency there, that we're able to see through that.
And that's
that's why I picked the parents that I did, and I'm so happy with the parents that I had picked. I hope that Brennan comes and says the same thing at some point. I feel like he will. Obviously, he's turned out to be awesome. I think he starts college this next year, and he's going to school for architecture. So
just hearing you, like being where I am right now, and listening to you where you're at, it's very, very nice to hear.
I'm so blessed to have had the experience that I did with adoption, and the way it was my daughter, it was my children's father, it was his dad who first brought that up to me as a suggestion. And he did it it was so random. We were in the car one day, and it was just like, yo, Emma, have you thought about this? Because you and David are so young, and financially, like, you are not capable of this, even with our help. Both sets, my parents and his parents, you guys are really not able to do this. And I was able to accept that, like, period. And then he introduced us to the adoption agency, and we went through a couple of different profiles before we settled on these two, the last two. There was the one that we went with, and then the other couple, they were in Tennessee. And there's a lot of red tape when you do out of state adoptions. It
Yeah.
makes it takes the process. It ends up being longer. I didn't want to put me, the kid, or the parents through that. So that's why I went with them. They were able to be at the hospital when he was born, so they were
Yeah.
able to be
Yeah.
as soon as he was born, and he went in there with them. And there's a
Mine-
5 or 7, I can't remember because it's been so long, day period that we're able to, if we wanted to, we were able to change our minds before it
Oh,
finalized.
rally. See, mine was 48 hours, 72 hours, 72 hours, I think it was.
Wow.
And I would,
They
because
really don't give you that much time.
I had him on the 10th, which was a Thursday. I was out of the hospital by Saturday.
The
And
10th of what, if you don't mind me
Huh?
asking? The 10th of what, if you don't mind me asking?
June, next month will be a year. He'll be a year. Yeah. And it's crazy. But my thing is just when I got to see their picture, you know, I don't know. And I was telling you, this is the only way I can explain it. And you know, my OB and her trainee was in there, and they seen it. Like, as soon as I seen their picture, I don't know how to explain it. Like, he was in my belly, but I seen him in her arms. Like, he was there.
I know exactly what you mean. I love hearing you say that because I know exactly what you mean. I had this same moment going through their profile when I came across. They had been trying for so many years, and they could not even conceive. And they had a whole room set up already, an entire room nursery,
Yeah.
and it was all
Yeah.
decked out in boy stuff. And I just found out that he was a boy, and I was like, and they were so much. She was so much like me. He was so much like their father that I was like,
Yeah.
and then I asked them what they were going to name him, and I have my own birth certificate where he has my last name,
Mhm.
but he has the same first and middle name that they initially gave him, and I didn't want the paperwork to be all different for him when he got
Yeah.
older
Yeah.
and all that. So it has the same name, it's just different. On my end of the deal, the name is my maiden name, and then with their copy, he has their last name. So, which
See,
is really cool.
So before we, you know, I came out and told my husband that I couldn't do it. Like I said, I was trying to jump on board. And we had
You
been,
do all kinds of stuff to psych yourself, like, I can do this, and you
we picked out a name.
like deep down there, you're like, I cannot do this.
We picked out a name, and we had been calling him that. So when we went to meet his parents, and I got lucky, you know, he's about 45 minutes down the road. It is very, very open. So when I went to meet him, we asked him just nonchalant, and you know, they have their two agents, and our two agents are sitting around the table. We went out to eat, and we just asked him, you know, what names have you picked out and had waiting? And the name that we had been calling him is the name that they had picked out for years.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, so that's his name to this day.
That
was just
that
another.
is so crazy. That is so crazy. That is so crazy.
And
The
moment I knew
that should tell you everything you need to know.
Yeah. And then she, you know, when she asked me, she's like, how old do you want him to be when we tell him? And it's just like, that's how I knew. And it's like, I looked at her, I said, you know, he's yours. Like, I knew from the moment, I knew as hard as it was, like, as soon as I seen her.
Do you think they'll ever tell him?
I didn't have him for me. He was never supposed to be mine. He was always supposed to be hers.
Oh, wow.
And that's the only way I can explain it. And I think that's when I joined that group, they had a hard time with it because I don't think a lot of people feel that way.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean, though. Oh, my God.
He was
Oh my
just,
God.
I love him, and I'll always
I
love
know
him.
exactly what you mean, though. I used to
That
think
he
about
just
becoming a surrogate, which I still go back
everything,
and forth on, but
everything. It all made sense in that moment. Just he was yours. You
that
just didn't get to have him, and now, that's
I
all I was
definitely
here
mean what I
for.
said earlier. I swear, if I ever hear somebody talking crap about Miss Ashley, I'm gonna come for you. You better be looking for my little tiny ass. I will come for you.
Oh, the
That
agents
is,
were just like they'd never seen any, just all of it. The gifts that we got each other. She didn't get to go to the ultrasound. She didn't get to experience any of that. So, we took ultrasounds and we framed them and put his
oh girl,
name in it. And we gave her a blanket. And it turns out the blanket that we gave her, they'd had their walls painted for years. And it was the same color blue, same shade. And it's
wow,
just little things.
that
So
that is
it's
crazy.
very open.
But it was
And
obviously, like I said, I don't believe in coincidences, so I really think like those were signs to tell
yeah,
you. And obviously, and I think that it is probably something that you were supposed to go through as part of experience for what you're doing now and what you're going to do in the future with your channel and all that. It's just part of the process. Even though sometimes
that's
like
what everybody keeps saying. I'm not sure
butterflies
if
didn't get to be
I
beautiful
believe.
because they started out that way. They were ugly ass caterpillars at one time.
But I think in order to talk about some things, we should talk about some things. And
Yeah,
I don't think we should be even begin to be able to talk about certain things without speaking about the and
right.
changing things that are already here
That's how progress comes up. Like
before we even
sometimes
get
I
there.
feel like it's good again, the transparency. That way people can't because you look like we've seen it with other content
Because,
creators. Their dirt gets dug up and then they don't really know what to say about it because they were blindsided by that. I like to put all my stuff out on the table. That way when people try to say something about it, it's like,
see, and that's
we
usually
already
how
know
I
about
am.
that. We already
That
know
is
about that.
that is me to a T before this. And then it was just like,
But
whoa.
this is heavy. This is
Yeah.
I totally see why.
So
I
it
did not even tell you about my so I have two siblings. Each one of my parents had a child before they got together, and they like my sister with my dad, she's just stayed with her mom. My mom placed my brother up for adoption within the family, and
see, and that's another hard thing. I
he
have
does not know this to this day.
oh
He is
see,
older
and
than
that's another thing I told her, that's the only thing I asked for when she asked me how old I knew right then. And all I said was, I know doing this that there's a chance that he will never come.
oh oh
But the only thing I ask
I
is
don't
is
think
that
that.
it is up to him. It's his decision.
Yeah,
And that's where I say I get lucky. From the moment we met, she started making a book about all these meant to be, like from the name and the blanket and all of these things. She started making a book for it.
that is so
And
sweet.
for me, like, just because I felt that way and I felt like, this is why this happened to me for you, it didn't make it any easier.
No, by
And
no means does it
after
make
it
it any
happened,
easier.
they're so open. So we were trying to figure out a way. She was just so worried about me and knowing that, like, yeah, this was right, but it's not.
It's not easy, and I love that about adoption. At least with our experience with adoption, the adopted families they're absolutely concerned with the well-being of the birth mother. They definitely care about our mental health state and want nothing more than the best for us and the kid. And that is such a blessing.
She
That's
got
such
me a
a blessing to
seed.
have
She
experienced.
got me a necklace with a little seed in it. That said, thank you for making my seed and giving us her seed and
That is so sweet.
um
What
so the
a blessing
biggest
to
thing
have you.
was with me was when I had my first son, um I had preeclampsia. Like, and at one point,
Yeah.
my
And it's very
placenta
stiff.
covered my cervix, so I had to lay flat for weeks, and it felt like forever, but it moved. But I had to have an emergency, like emergency, non-emergency. I went in for my stress test,
And it
and
wasn't
his
good.
heart kept stopping, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like
What's going on?
by myself, and I hear his heartbeat, and it stops, and the doctor's no around, and I scream. I'm like, hello. And he comes out. I was like, do you hear that? And he's like, no. And I'm like, exactly. And then it rings, dawns on, like, oh,
Oh yeah.
no, we don't hear this. So he's like, my husband's in the waiting room, and all these doctors come swarming back, and he texts me, and he's like, please don't tell me that they came back for you. And I was like, okay, but they definitely did. So then I went over to the hospital. They tried to induce me. He wouldn't come. His heart kept stopping. It stopped like more times. And then they were finally like, screw this. We're taking him. So I went straight in. When I had a C-section, and when they pulled him out, they look in, and they're like, oh, he's sleeping. And they pull him out, and I have a picture of them holding him, and they thought he was sleeping, but he wasn't. They quickly, it changed very much from there. He was not breathing, and like 6, 7 doctors come swarming in, and
Oh, I bet you
I'm
were
laying
freaking
on the table, and the anesthesiologist, you like, I can't, nothing, nobody's saying anything.
Yeah, they don't. They just
Husband
start
sitting there and
going
like,
frantic, and they don't say anything forever, and you're just sitting there looking at them like, tell me something. They
my
don't say
husband, he never freaks out. Like, he
anything.
is the calm, stable, and like, he just turned and he looked at me, and his eyes, like, he didn't even say nothing, just gave it away. And I just remember, like, oh, I don't hear him crying. Like, I ain't never had a baby before, but every movie you see, like,
Yeah, they cry. They're supposed to cry when they come
they're
out.
crying by now. So
was-
I'm starting to piece it together, and they're working on him, and Adam's trying to stay very calm, and the anesthesiologist, he goes, "Sweetie, are you okay?" I said, "No, I'm not fucking okay. I can't
what's
hear
going
him
on with my
cry."
kid? Why is he not crying?
So he pissed me off. I was so mad, but he must have gave me something, because after that,
You were
things
gone.
like, I was still pissed off at him, and I wanted to yell at him some more, but I could not. But then my husband,
Like,
at
we're gonna
some
shut her
point,
up.
like, I never heard him cry, but at some point he did, because when my husband looked at me again, just the amount of relief in his eyes,
Oh my
and he
God.
started crying, and I knew he was okay. But since that happened, I had him at 110. I didn't get to hold him. I didn't get to bond that skin to skin. And to me, that's so important.
It is important, but
No, everybody out there listening,
that's the reason why I did what I did when I with the one that I placed after
same.
went straight into the room with her. And I also, after having done that, there was no way during that 7 days. That's all I could think about was like, I could not do that to her. There is no way I could do that and then go and take him back from her.
Well, that's what my biggest thing,
I could not do that. I could not do that to another woman.
When Ollie came out,
you can't do that to another woman.
When Ollie came out, and I had him at 110. I didn't get to meet him until about 8:30, 9 o'clock that night. And that messed with me. When I got home, that messed with me. I had baby blues. I felt like I didn't get to bond with him, so he doesn't like me. And then I went through, why did I ever want this? Like, just all these things. And I feel like I didn't get that. So when I knew I was going to adopt, and especially after I met them, and I just knew, I made the decision, first of all, when I finally did tell people that I was adopting, and that
was your family supportive?
Yes, but no. It was mixed.
You're always going to have
a lot of them said,
members that just think they're so much better and they're so opinionated they could never even fathom what you're going through.
A lot of them just thought I was depressed, and in about 6 months I would regret it. And they were worried. Like, is this something that you're really really. But then again, the hardest part after deciding to adopt was my my closest friends and my own family. Like, there are women that has had tried for 10 years to have one, and they want 50 million kids if they could. And then I have family that are friends and family that have tried so hard and they still don't have a kid. And for me to have to go to them and tell them,
That
not only am I adopting, but I can't give him to you
oh,
because he's
oh,
too
oh.
close. He's just too close.
Yeah. I didn't even think about that. I didn't even think about that till you said that. And that's, well, I went through something similar like that with mine. The adopted, his parents wanted to, well, his mom wanted to adopt him. His dad did not think that was a good idea. I agreed that that would not be a good idea, adopting our son and then raising him, because I knew how she would, it would have just not been good.
It was just,
I'm glad that I did what I did.
they
There's no
understood.
doubt in my mind.
They understood so well. I mean, literally, it was the next scariest thing I ever had to do was go to them, and one of them are my best friend, you know, and but they were very they knew, they got it. I mean, I can't if he I
It's
can't,
hard. It would be hard. It would be hard.
and I can't see him on, like, I don't have his parents on. I feel like where I different from a lot of people in that group I was in was I did a lot of things to protect, because no matter how much I knew he was hers, that's still mine.
Yeah.
And all of those feelings, that is mine.
Yeah.
And that's selfish, to me, to bring him home simply because of that
Yeah.
was very selfish for me to do, because I had no business bringing him home. And I knew that. So when I knew, I made the decision, and a lot of people who did, they called me a coward, because I knew that bonding, I got to bond with him for 9 months.
Yeah.
She didn't get that. He knew my voice. He knew everything about me.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh.
So when it came to knowing that I was going to adopt him, she was in there. She did. She came in. When I asked her to be in there, now it was COVID time, so they couldn't be like, right.
And girl, kudos. I can't, any woman that gave birth during that time. You need to be patting yourself on the back, because you're brave. You are so damn brave. I can't even imagine. Like, I worry about that to this day, because the way that they do tubals in North Carolina is they just clamp your tubes.
Oh, she took my whole tubes. There is nothing left. Nothing's coming back together.
They take these little tiny clamps. They look like little clips. Little hair clips. They clamp them. And then I know 2 women who had this procedure done, and then literally 14, 15 years later, they end up getting pregnant again because the clamps had fell and their tubes had grown back. Yeah. This is something I constantly worry about now, because my last kid, Miles will be turning 13 in September. So yes, it's a very real fear of mine. This is a very real fear that I have nowadays. I'm so scared of this, because, like I said, I have 2 grandkids. I'm not trying to go back and start having more kids again. I'm not trying to do that.
Oh no, she took the whole things. I said, take it all. Don't snip them. Don't burn them. Don't tie them.
She said, don't just take it all. I don't need it.
She took them out. She actually showed me them, because I didn't believe her. I said, please tell me this is never going to happen again.
See, I went in after my 3rd kid, which was the first kid I had was my last child. So I had 2 kids with one guy, and then I had 2 kids with another guy. And Tristan is my son that's still surviving, and he's the one that's 15. So whenever I had him, I went to my gynecologist. I said, look, lady, I don't want any more kids. And she's like, oh, you might want to have more. You never know. You're only this age and this age. And I was like, I know that I don't want, I have 3 kids and I'm 21 years old. I don't have any more kids. Well, we're just not going to do that right now. I was like, when I come back pregnant, me and you're going to have some words. So I come back and she goes, oh, Emma, what do you do? I was like, what do you mean? What am I doing here again? This is your fault. And she's like, well, this is definitely not my fault. I was like, well, it kind of is your fault because I clearly said that I wanted to have my tubes tied. You didn't think that was a good idea. I obviously know my body a little bit better than you. And look where we are, Dr. Colson. And then, of course, we end up finding all that stuff. And she came to me and apologized to me when we found out that Miles, and I said, there's nothing to be sorry for if you're coming and apologizing to me as if because he has some sort of genetic condition, like you pity me or whatever. Like, that's messed up. It's exactly what I said to her. I was like, if you'd have just done your job and listened to the patient and done what I asked, like, you wouldn't be having to apologize to me right now. But that's neither here nor there. It doesn't matter now. Just we are here where we are. What matters is that you're going to do it this time. And after Miles, this is what's even worse. After Miles passed away, or before we found out he's sick, I went upstairs. So after he was born, they sent me straight upstairs to have that procedure done. And as I'm coming out of anesthesia, waking up from that, this nurse comes up to me and she goes, "Oh, I just need you to sign some papers." I'm like, "What's this for?" She was like, "Your tubal." I was like, that's what I just had. So I didn't sign the paperwork, and y'all just did a medical procedure on me, and y'all didn't even have the paperwork signed. Like, she was like, "Yeah, could you not?" I was like, I was like, I can't even. I'm lady, just give me the. I want to go back in my room. Can I get some ice cream? That's just get out of my face. At that point, I was like, wow, this doesn't surprise me because my daughter, she had my grandson on the 5th. She calls me 2 days after she has him. She gets at home. She's like, "Mom, I had to go back to the hospital." I was like, "What happened?" She was like, apparently they did not finish delivering her part of her placenta. Yeah. I was like, okay, first of all, she's married to a Marine, so she lives on the base. This is a hospital. This hospital was off the base, but still, it's in the same area. To me, the medical care should be above standard when you're in the military. Your medical care should be way better. You're in the military. So I could not. And then she goes, "Mom, you've got to see this." And she sends me a picture of part of the placenta because she was just so fascinated by this thing that had been growing the baby for 9 months. She was like, "How does that happen, Mom? How do they not deliver?" I was like, "Holly, I don't even know. I don't even know, sweetheart." I was like, "I'm just glad you're okay." She almost needed a blood transfusion.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
how do you not, dogs? It's part of the. I mean,
I don't even.
I still to this day.
All mine were C-sections.
How did they not do that? That's like childbirth 101. You get the placenta out after it always comes out. You make sure the damn thing comes out, all of it.
All mine were C-sections.
Yeah, so they definitely got yours out. There was no way they didn't.
Well, after everything with my oldest, they were just like, "Nah, we're not taking any chances. We'll just take them out right before."
Right. My daughter has she had gestational diabetes, so they had to induce her with both of them. Yeah, which this one he was due on the 6th. He came on the 5th. Yeah, he was due on the 6th, but he showed up on the 5th. All because he's part Hispanic, so he showed up on Cinco de Mayo like, "Hey, I'm ready to party." I was like, "No, you're supposed to be here tomorrow because there's a thing in the family with birthdays on the 6th. Like mine's on the 6th. Her dad's is on the 6th. My granddaughter was born on the 6th. He was supposed to be born on the 6th. He doesn't listen to grandma at all. He showed up on the 5th like, "Hey, what's up?" I was like, "You're early." Mom, my daughter calls me. She's like, "Mom, I know that you were wanting to be down here, and I know that he's not due till tomorrow, but he decided to come today." And it was crazy because her daughter was having a sleep study done because they thought she was having seizures, but it turns out that her heart rate and her brain aren't in sync yet, and when she gets excited, she faints.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my daughter thought she was having seizures, which is really sweet in hindsight. It's so sweet. But I'm glad that she had her checked out because what if something would have been wrong and she would have had something going on and she would have been having seizures. Thank God she was.
I had mine.
Holly went into labor while she was at another hospital with her daughter having sleep study done. But they were prepared for that. So obviously they weren't fully prepared. They couldn't deliver the placenta. So
when I had my last, it was easy. But like I said, she was in there. When I asked if she would be in there, I told her, I said I wouldn't have you come this far if I thought I wouldn't even have met you if I thought I was going to back out. So when I told my family and those close to me that um, I'm not going to hold him when he comes out, because I don't. My biggest fear was him,
Bonding with him.
him,
Yeah. Oh, him
yeah,
bonding. Yeah, yeah.
bonding. Like
Yeah,
I was afraid to even speak when he. I didn't.
yeah.
When he
I
came out,
didn't.
I didn't speak
I
because he
didn't.
knew my voice. Of
I
anybody's
didn't.
voice in there, I felt like as soon as I said something, he would bond.
Yeah,
He would imprint. I
yeah.
mean, he would.
I did that too, and it was a
So when he when
subconscious
he
thing.
when he got out, and I'm glad. People they called me a coward. They're saying, you're being a coward. That's not fair to him or you. When you hold that baby, you don't know, things will change and you'll bring
I
him
was like,
home.
you
But
don't
that's the
think
thing.
about that. You
I
know.
knew if I held him, I knew if I would have done that, I would have
Yeah,
brought him home. And that was selfish.
yeah. I knew that. I knew that too. I knew even when I was 16. I knew that ahead of going into even having, and I didn't. Angela and her husband, they were there at the hospital. They were in another room. They were in the delivery room with me, and neither was their dad. And I understand why for his own separate reasons, because of what we are going through and the adoption thing. He couldn't be in the room
Yeah.
emotionally. And I was okay, and I was like, that's cool. I don't get that option, but
Oh,
whatever.
I had my
To
husband
this
in
day,
there.
I was like, I begrudge
They
him a little bit over that. I'm like, you're a dickbag.
they were off to the side, but I'm glad I didn't, because when they took him out, they brought him up to me. I'm having a C-section, so I'm on the table,
It's kind of,
and
yeah,
I ran my fingers through his hair and I rubbed his cheek and I put my finger in his hand,
yeah,
and I said goodbye.
yeah.
Um,
I
and
didn't
then he
hug
went
him.
straight to her. She got that skin. She got to hold him. She got to bond with him. And it was hard because when they were
Yeah,
bringing him to me, when they pulled him out, immediately for a split second,
yeah,
I was like, I'm taking my baby home.
yeah.
And it was just almost like, I don't want to sound like one of those people, but it was almost like I literally felt God put his hand on my shoulder and just
And
reminded
he's like,
me,
you're
this
okay.
is
This
why
is
we're
not
not
what you're.
doing that.
You're not doing that. This
Yeah.
is not. This is
This
not
is
what you're supposed to
why
do. Yet.
we're doing everything the way we're doing it.
Yep. This is not the plan.
So
We're gonna stick with the plan. We're gonna stick
I
with the plan.
didn't see him the whole, I had him that Thursday morning and I was out of the hospital by Saturday. I didn't see him. Well, they were right down the room. They were up there the whole time. Um, and I didn't go see him. I didn't. But I did when I went to say bye that Saturday before I left. That was the first time I went down to the room. I didn't go to the nursery. I didn't go because even going into his room with them, I was so afraid to speak.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
so afraid
Yeah.
that when he would hear my voice,
Then he would not understand the
everything would
separation
be
and
ruined. So
yeah.
when I went in, and it did. I got in there, and oh my gosh, she was so natural. He was just so
Happy.
at home. It was like I was looking at him. He was mine. I had him, but he wasn't mine.
But he
He
was,
was
but
not mine. And so when I went in, I didn't speak right away. But when I did, because he was dead asleep, when I did speak, he didn't open his eyes, but he perked like, oh,
it's like he
where is it?
recognized
But it was on, and then he fell back. He fell back into his mom's arm. Like he literally
just for a second. He was there.
relaxed. And
And he
I
was like,
was so nervous in that moment that I fucked up. But when he
no.
fell back into her arms, it was almost like
To
he
tell
heard
you
that
everything was
voice,
okay.
but it was a distant on the outside. Somebody that was just around me so much, when he was in my
Yeah.
belly, and that's when
Maybe he might think it was that. It could be, yeah. Maybe
that
that's why he was like, oh, we're good, we're good.
that's when I knew when he fell back. I knew that it was going to be okay. That they had bonded. That was his mom, and
My light keeps going out.
so this whole whole open adoption. You know, they
It's a
were
really the
so
fact that they
open.
haven't always been able to do that. That's not an option that's always been on the table for
But
us.
my thing is right now, you know, I just,
Given everything that we've seen personally, I think that we've seen over the last couple of years, especially since the pandemic, and the way parents, I don't know if it's just that the media is publicizing it and talking about it more, or if there really is an increase in the children being murdered by their parents, but it just seems that way to me, and it's just it's crazy. It's crazy out there. Also, the amount of foster parents that are able to acquire children and then
yeah.
horrendous things
Well, that's another
happen.
thing.
Like,
Everybody's like, just carry him and adopt him, and it's just like, well, with the way things are,
if it was only that easy, everybody's always like, oh, if you can, there's always like when the abortion thing came
it's
up, and
always adoption, and
we don't
it's
want to
just
get
like,
on that, but
to me, the thought of putting it yeah, it made me think of a lot of things.
yeah, oh yeah,
But, you know, my biggest thing after I made, you know, I didn't hold him. I didn't go see him. I didn't because I knew that one, my mama
it's
instincts
already
at that
emotional
time were
for
so
me.
strong no matter what I was feeling. Those hormones, that is mine.
Yep.
That is my baby. I love him. That is never the question. In fact, I told her, you know, if there's anything, the way they see it is I could go see him right now if I wanted to.
See,
It's
that is so
always
cool,
been about me.
and I think that's
And the
so
way
cool
I
that they
see it
would allow that.
is I had 9 months to bond with him. And right now, he
That's their
needs his
time.
mom.
That's
He
their time.
needs her. So this is what I told her when I met them at the restaurant. I said, the way I see it is, yes, I want to, but right now, I just need to just be a shadow, a bookmark. I don't need you to live your life around what I'm feeling, what I'm thinking, meeting me, doing me. You need to raise your son. He's going to be yours and you're going to know him just the same as I know my
It
kids.
is so sweet that they take that into consideration. That's like,
So right now, no, I don't. Because
no,
I'm so worried about, he needs to know who, I don't need to confuse him.
and that would, yeah, that would, I think that would.
I don't need to be I don't need to be nothing right now because she needs to be everything. They need to,
That's their, yeah.
that's your baby. And plus, you know, I don't care. They've waited 8 years for a baby. I'm only being real here. They need that time. They need their first everything. They don't need me.
Everybody's experience too
And yeah.
is different.
So
They experience that.
one of the things is I needed to let those attachment, I need to let that bond as much as it was still there go. So she wanted to, she's so want, I mean, she was going to get my address, which I mean, they have, but and mail me letters and pictures. And to me, you know,
Yeah, the adoption agency that we went through required for the first year.
Yeah,
that
they do
provide once a month with
but
pictures,
they were,
and then after that they didn't have to, but they kept in touch with my children's parents, mainly because the paternal grandmother likes to insinuate herself. She's like a proverbial Jody Sue.
Well, I just
so to speak, she really likes to put herself in situations that is not warranted at all.
The way my thing is I can't be around him right now. That's why I couldn't give him to anybody in my family because I can't go to a family reunion or a get together or see you on Facebook. I don't have I don't need to sit and watch them on Facebook and critique everything that they're doing to my child and put myself through that.
Yeah, that's not.
So I shielded myself. And I think that's where, like, when I joined this group, that's what they would talk about. Oh, I have them on Facebook. They don't pay attention. And I'm like, I would feel that way too. I know I would if I went there.
Like, oh my God, no.
Don't
do that to yourself.
Well, yeah. So I didn't. I don't have them on Facebook. So
yeah, don't do that.
So, and I was very open with his mom. I was like, I'm nervous about receiving all of that in the mail. It's very overwhelming. So she came up with the idea. She was like, well, let's create an email. And I tell you what, this woman, he'll be a year next month, and every month
That's so sweet.
she writes me. She
That oh,
sends me gobs of pictures, and I have not been able to respond to her, not
yeah,
once.
that's normal too.
And she
That's
keeps doing it. She keeps sending it. And
that
that's
is
how I know.
so sweet and so selfless, so selfless. Adoption is all the way around both sides. Like I can't anybody that knocks anyone that's in any way involved in the adoption process, especially when it's like ours has went. They're going to
Everybody
go with
around
it.
in that whole
It's just,
situation knew it was right. We all felt it. I
yeah,
mean, it was so hard, but she understands that it doesn't make it easy on my end, and she did. She made it as easy. And
yeah,
like I said, every month, like I don't know what to say back. I don't know
yeah.
what to talk about, so I haven't. But she does, and
That's
she's waiting. And she said, the last things that she said was, we will be waiting when you are. And I got very
I'm
lucky.
you're super like you're so blessed. Like first
I
of all, your
couldn't.
husband,
I feel
and
like
even
everything
if
I
it
told
hasn't been
God,
a
like
good,
I can't give him away for this. I can't do it because of this. It was just like bam, so
this was
rapid. He was
supposed
like,
to happen.
okay,
There's like no other way that you can explain that. And
yes. It was
yeah,
just and I think when I told my story in the group, I think that's kind of because one, like nobody could understand how I and I don't even understand it. He's mine. I love him. I told them before we left, if there's anything that they can't do for him, just
let me
because I
know.
can't meet him right now, I don't
You
care
mean I
if
will?
I got to give him my kidney. I will go to that hospital, give him it, and dip out
Yeah,
because I will give, and they know that he has brother and sister. They want that for him if he wants that.
that's
And
so
that's all
sweet,
I ask is if he doesn't, I know perfectly well that there's a chance that he may never not want to know.
honey. The chances of that are so slim. The chances of them not wanting, at least at one point, to meet you one time seldom happens. There, the bond that we have with our children as a mother to a child, that bond is so incredibly strong and
Yeah.
unbreakable that no matter what, they want to seek you out. Just like I told you, like my my brother doesn't necessarily know, but I've seen interactions uh, when they're around one another. I think he knows. I think he knows, and it's just one of those things that like members of there's everybody in the family is aware of it. It's just like the big pink elephant in the damn room that
Yeah.
like the siblings are not allowed to discuss it amongst themselves. It's like, bro, what? I am the biggest one of them all that's vocal. I'm like, you just wait. You just wait until she is gone. I'm telling him. I'm telling everybody that'll listen to me within a half of a freaking century. I'm telling everybody. And my mom's like, you better hush, Emma. That's not your place. I'm like, okay,
And
okay.
see, that's what I
You just
told
watch
her
this.
when she asked me. She was like, "Well, how old do you want him to be when we tell him?" And I'm like, "Oh, I can't even begin to
Yeah,
make
that's so
that
that she
decision
didn't even
for
ask you
you."
that, and that not be her. Like
I told her, I
that
looked at her, I said,
lady
Mom, you are going to know him and you will know when
when
and
it's the
if
right
and
time.
how. And you will know because he's yours.
I have no doubt that she'll go about it in the absolute best way possible, in the right way,
I mean,
and
she's
it'll
writing a
come
book
out the way
form.
it's supposed to.
It's incredible. But
But
yeah, they got me a necklace with the seed. They got
that is
my
so
husband a
sweet. Like
knife
I
with
can't.
his name on it. We got, like I said, I put the ultrasounds. We took them
That's
when
so
we found
sweet.
out he was a boy. And few ones in the beginning. I think there was like four of them. We put him in a frame, put his name on it, and we wrapped it in a blanket that his brothers have used. And yeah, it was awesome
I
for
think
us.
it's really cool too to see my to see when you later on. This is something like maybe you'll get to look. I honestly feel like this you will experience this too one day. Seeing them like your children that you have, and then if they meet one day, they meet their brother, seeing them interact with one another. Like I haven't personally firsthand up close seen my daughter and my son interact with one another. I've seen pictures of them together over the years and them interacting with one another. And when my daughter had her daughter, she was on a trip down here, down to where she lives, because I live in the mountains of North Carolina. She lives near the coast, and he lives in between us. So she always makes a pit stop on her way up or on her way down. So to see him interacting with my granddaughter was wow.
Yeah.
That was like, oh my God. Still to this day, every once in a while I just pull my phone out and I'll pull that picture up and I'm just like, even though I haven't got to meet him, I still like, I'm just always in awe of like, I had kids that turned out to be so awesome. And like, despite of all of my quirks and all of my flaws and all of the shortcomings that I've had, and being a teen parent is like, no doubt, one of the hardest things that I've done in my life. One of the craziest things. I was like, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I got myself in this situation. I'm going to figure it out. And situation. And my kids are not like that. To see them not turn out like that and be a little bit more responsible. My daughter did get pregnant earlier than I wanted to, but she still graduated. She graduated a semester early, and she graduated while she was pregnant. She got married and everything before she graduated. So when she got pregnant, she was able to move down to the coast with her husband. He went to deployment almost immediately after their daughter was born, and that's why I went there, because her mental health. I was like, I've got to go down there. She does not need to be alone with her first kid by herself. I don't care if it has been 3 months. Still, her mental health coming from me and someone that has experienced mental illness. Yeah, there's no way I could not be down there with her. So, yeah. And that's what I'm saying. Like, to do that. And I also knew when I was placing him up for adoption that it wasn't just what was best for him. It was also what was best for her and her future, and him and his future, and providing both of them a stable environment to grow and progress into an adult as best as I could. I couldn't do that if I had both of them. I mentally would not have been able to do that. I was barely able mentally to do the one. I could not have done two at that time with them that close in age. And my other son wasn't born until my daughter was almost 6. So yeah, there was a huge gap in between them two. So by then, of course, I was like, yeah, I can do this.
Yeah.
I still mentally should not have been trying to do that, but I did. And my son Tristan, he's a lot like me. He's so much like me. He's very introverted, but he'll tell you real quick how he feels about stuff. Real quick. Like the other day, him trying to give me the business on politics. I was like, son, how old are you? You don't even have driver's license yet. Shh. Don't talk to your mom about politics.
My oldest was a breeze. We didn't have to baby proof nothing. We did, but we really didn't have to because he didn't. Now, my youngest, when he came out, he is me. Every bit of me. He will test you. He has my attitude.
You're worried they're gonna pull it over on him. That was my son.
Oh my God! And even when I was pregnant,
sitting in the dresser, 3 drawers high, up in it, just watching TV. I'm like, what are you doing? Oh my goodness!
Well, yes. It's just crazy how it happened because, Ollie, he was just like so easy,
and
so I was like, okay, I can have it. I can do this again. And even when I was pregnant with Camden, I was about ready to pop, and I remember posting online like, I joke about serious things. Usually, if I'm joking about something serious, it's because it's serious, and that's just my way to not cry, I think.
Me too.
So I made this post. I'm like, how do you I'm scared, how do you split yourself in two? I felt like I could barely do it with one. How do you literally split yourself in two? Yeah. And I posted it being funny, but I was very, but I knew I could do it still. I knew that there's something in me telling me that it would come, that I could adjust.
Able to see that within yourself and reach out and talk to someone about it and actively do something for the greater good to be able to prevent what we see happen so often.
Yeah.
Or just to even prevent the possibility of that happening. Being able to acknowledge that within yourself takes the amount of insight that, like, I don't even think I'm capable of looking at myself with sometimes. I'm gonna be quite honest with you. I do not. Sometimes I'm just like, I was telling my friend earlier, I was like, she is like, I can't even put into words like how amazing that
Oh,
is. It's like the insight that you have to have and reflect on yourself to be able to acknowledge that. I was like, it's incredible. I was like,
I
I'm
just
jealous of that. I was like, I'm jealous of that. Like, I cannot even tell you, I'm jealous of that. That is wow. I was like, and then to do what I was like, I'll tell you right now, I was like, I'll beat a motherfucker's ass over her once. I was like, because that is like, I can't even, I was like, that is, I don't even have words for that for days. I'm going to be telling people about you. I'm like, y'all, let me
well,
tell you about this girl that I've met. Oh my God. Like,
that
and I
was
thought
some
my
of
story
the
was the same,
reason
wasn't it?
why I was so upset that like I couldn't get past like I asked you put yourself here. You knew damn well and you put yourself here. Like if you would because my biggest thing was yeah, I signed the papers, but by the time that 30 days came, I was back to work. I had 2 kids. I couldn't find I in my mind how was I going to take a week off of work, let alone sit down when I have 2 kids, and it seems so small now.
Yeah.
But literally when it happened, and we were also contemplating, do you really want to be done? Because like me, society says, have 50 kids, have all these
Yeah.
kids, big families, big,
I
big,
always stress to
big,
my kids, I'm
everywhere
like,
I
you don't
go,
have to have
big.
kids.
So yeah, we really fought back and forth with it. Can I do, literally it was a Saturday. Camden started walking across and I was at a spot where we could, um, I felt like I could take off work. I wouldn't have to pick him up so much. He was starting to walk, you know, it was perfect timing. Um, so it was Saturday night. We were talking about it. We talked about it very much. And by the time we were done, Monday morning, I was going to call. Like I told you, I very much remember saying and making the joke, "Whoo, I'm glad we dodged that bullet. Like, just in the nick of time. I'm glad we dodged it."
Yeah.
So,
Especially given the global state at that time. Like, I don't see how anybody could have read your community post the other day and for even half a second think that you were being selfish or that you didn't do the right thing in at any capacity. Like, I'm sorry. If you read her post and you thought anything negative, you're an idiot and you need to look at inward upon yourself and figure out why the hell that you feel that way, because there is no way in hell that she did anything wrong and did anything that is less than selfless.
I
Like,
just should have went. I should have just like to me now. It just seemed for everything that's happened. My reasons were ridiculous, but they were very real to me at the time.
yeah,
So when we made we by Saturday we were final. I knew then 100%. My plate was full. These two
yeah.
kids are going to be more than enough for me
And,
for the rest of
and
my
the
life.
fact that you made sure that after you've done this, you're actively making steps and changes so that you don't get yourself in that situation
Yeah,
again.
I was like
Have
from
you
here on
turned
out
around
because
and
like we
like
weren't
got
being
pregnant again?
careful because we weren't sure, and I mean we
That was
weren't,
it.
and that's another. But as soon as that was it. We were going to take the steps until I got in there to make sure. But by the time it was Sunday night, literally the next day, I was sitting there, and one of the things that happen when I'm pregnant is I always mess with the heat. The heat, one notch too. I'm serious. It would go from 74 to 75. I would get hot and cold, hot and cold.
You
And I'd done
know,
it like 3 times. And Adam was like, "Oh, it's almost like you're pregnant." And I'm just like, "Shut the fuck
you
up.
shut the hell up. Don't you say
Shut
that shit because
up."
now I'm gonna be you dummy.
So yeah, I did it another time, and then I grabbed the keys. I went down to the Dollar General. I came back. I took the
You got a
test,
test.
and I couldn't understand it because I wasn't late. I hadn't missed. And
Oh,
at that time, I thought I was just I just became pregnant. I was only 2, maybe 3 weeks long, but I couldn't understand because I wasn't late. I wasn't due to till the end of October. I just had it in September. Everything was on track. I wasn't throwing up. If I was fucking with the
When,
heat by now, I should
when
have been
something
throwing
enters
up.
your uterus, apparently your whole body just goes into complete chaos and throws you into disarray. It's like, oh my God, we got to shut everything down. We got to prepare for the baby. Your body goes in straight baby mode,
But
and
I
you can
had
feel it
no
instantly.
signs. And I would, by then, now, like knowing later, I was already a month pregnant, maybe a little bit. Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I had
Yeah,
no clue. I had no idea. So I just, there's no way. There's no way. There's no way. And when I took that test,
you were like, oh, no, 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 no.
yeah,
That's
there
like me right
was,
now. Like
and then
I do.
after, those are the, that is, that's the part, that time's the most
Because
difficult
I am
part to
my
talk
age, and
about.
I just know, like, no, no, no. I got it. My dog. I got my dog, and she is all the little baby that I need anymore because she thinks she is a baby. And then I have my grandbabies, and I'm like, oh, they're also, and I can give them back.
I am, I just, that's
I
the
love my
period
kids.
where,
I love my kids though. I would not be where I am, or I wouldn't be the person I am today had God not been like, you need a healthy dose of patience, and learning it needs to start early because I had none. I'm like, nope, nope. God was like, have
I
to
was
force it.
just, I was just not selfish. I was just, I partied. I was YOLO. I lived my
See,
I
I had
was
kids
young.
early, so I didn't do that until after,
And
like afterwards. Yeah,
my thing was, do I want to, am I going to be able to stop this
yeah.
and do what I need to do when my kids come? And it was a very, so like I said, I didn't do anything for the first three
A lot
years
of
he
people
was
do struggle
born.
with that too. A lot of people struggle with that. A lot of
And
people struggle with
that's
that.
the thing, like with me, like, yeah, I did a lot of drugs. I partied very hard, but I would never necessarily, I would never offend people that struggle with it and are addicts because me, I went balls to the wall, but at those moments where people told me, hey, you know,
You're
you're
out there.
you're kind of getting there real bad. I did. I was
Yeah,
able to.
yeah.
I
You
was
needed
able
to
to
know
stop.
it.
It
Like,
wasn't,
yeah. Oh, me too.
I loved it, but it wasn't something
I've
that,
had my fair share of people like, you need to check yourself. And I'm like, oh, you
yeah,
need to
so I would
rehab.
never
And they're like,
say that I
yes.
was an addict back then because being an, that is something that's very,
But
but
that's
yeah,
also
it
why
was
I
a,
am so vocal about the stuff that I see, especially when it comes to content creators. And because I've been through the stuff that I've been through, and I know a dumpster fire when I see one. And yeah, I will call you on that. I'm like, you don't get to stand over there and try to play me for no damn fool. I know what the hell you're up to, buddy. Don't come over here trying to act like you're a saint when you ain't.
and
Just don't
it's,
do that. Just don't. We're all human. We all make
I
mistakes. Just
just think when I
own it.
started my page, I came in, I was messed up behind the scenes, and then all of these people fighting with each other, going personal. And I
Yeah,
think what I did was I tried to not give any reason to
yeah.
make
Don't do
anybody to go personal with me. And then my page has suffered for it. I'm not gonna lie. And I'm afraid to engage with people, which I think everybody they're helping me out with that now. Like you come at, you have no idea, just
My channel is super small.
this
And
and
I don't
having
even talk about true crime,
conversation.
but it's because I'm a huge fan of true crime, and seeing what has happened in the Summer Wells case, like, and I cannot stand it, especially after what we've been like experiencing, anything that we have with a child. When you see other people having children and being so careless and irresponsible when it comes to taking care of them, or content creators that are exploiting these missing persons cases for just sheer nothing but profit. You don't care nothing about finding that kid. You don't care nothing about the facts of the case. You just profit. That's what I got a problem with. That's why
Yeah.
I started the true criteria. That's why I was like, oh, hell no. And my buddy was like, I
Well,
don't know
that's
if you
why
want
I
to go
haven't
down that
talked
rabbit
about
hole. I was like, I'm definitely going down that rabbit hole. Somebody needs to.
I
Somebody needs to.
I haven't talked about summer because I know I take
Yeah.
on Tennessee cases a
You're
lot,
doing
but
what you're doing in Tennessee. You need to stick with that because that need that
But they
That
don't
needs
get
to
that.
be,
Like,
that
one,
needs to
she
be,
is getting plenty of covered, and two,
yeah,
I say anything about Summer, and me being me right now, I am not strong enough for all
to
those people.
even combat the kind of girl. Like I said, it is a
They
black
make it
hole. If you
personal.
get near it, it does have an orbit of its own, and it will suck you in. You gotta
I am
stay.
not
You gotta
strong. And like
step.
me,
You got
like I
to.
said earlier, I think that's another thing where my page struggles is it's not flashy. I'm not going to come up
No,
with information
but you're
up
not
here
going
and
to do
speak
that
on
just for
things that I'm
entertainment
not
purpose. That's not
supposed
what
to
we're here
be.
for. That's not
And
what I do either.
I'm not going to fight. I'll fight with the LE all day. TBI, you listening right now?
Yeah.
I'll come at you all day.
Yeah, because you need to be held accountable. That's what we're talking about. Y'all need to be held accountable.
That's who I'm fighting with right
Yeah.
now. I'm fighting with
Yeah.
them behind the scenes, but people don't get to see behind the scenes.
The law
And
enforcement over there, it needs to be investigated.
the way
Seriously,
that
needs
I
to be
do things is
investigated.
I will wait till I get the green light. If we can go through the proper channels, and I can honestly say that at least 4 families that have come to me saying something in the beginning,
And these are all
something
within
new has
the same
happened,
little
something
area
has
in the
changed
cluster of
within.
like 3 to 4 specific counties that even I, through all this research and all these channels I've come across, these 3 or 4 specific counties in Tennessee that keep reoccurring and coming up, and members of law enforcement in those counties keep reoccurring and coming up in these cases, and their involvement is highly suspicious, to say the least.
I am.
So whenever I found your channel and I
I
saw this
just try to very much keep
I
the
was like,
focus on them,
yes,
and I think that's where
that's the difference. That's the reason why I'm doing that, because channels like yours, channels like Arctic Fox, and I don't know if y'all have heard of Casey Hudson. She also puts out a lot of missing persons, the
I'll
flyers,
check it out.
but she does that too. Her and I'm constantly, their thumbnails I see constantly, they're missing persons people putting up, and I've noticed that. And then I noticed you were doing the Tennessee series, and I was like, oh, I'm getting into that. Let me see what this is about. So like I'm subscribed to so many true crime channels, and they're different. There's a little bit of difference in all the like the categories. For example, like I'm also subscribed to Reporting Live from My Sofa and Linda at It's a Crime. I'm obsessed with Tyson Draper and his hair. That is my super secret obsession in true crime, is Tyson Draper and his hair. Why? It just is, because it just is. But I have subscribed to them, and I also watch that Law and Crime channel, because who isn't watching the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, just
Which is crazy.
And that's how I get away from all the madness that's going on because of the Summer Wells case. I'll go watch Johnny Depp and Amber Heard for a little while and go, glad I'm not with that crap.
Well, that's why, it's not that I don't want to do Summer, and I hate to say it, but
No, I don't blame you.
she's getting a lot of coverage.
Stuck into that shit.
And God forbid if I say
stuck on
something about it, I know they're gonna come, and I don't want that here. I try very hard.
You don't.
Gainesboro, let me tell you what, they all came, that
Because
community.
I could see that's gonna have its own. You already got your own battles that you're gonna have to deal with jumping into that.
Oh, half of that town, on the other side of things, they've all come and spoke.
Yeah.
I'll go tit for tat, but because
that
that's
whole
what
thing
we're
that with Kayla too, with Kayla and Aaron and all that. That is just the tip of what's going on over there. I'm telling you, that is a hot. That's.
But I can say, with the way
stuff that they got going on, it scares me sometimes.
With the way we do things, though, like I said, I have 4 families that came to me saying this, and there are active new things happening in their investigations because I'm not putting it here. We're taking it.
Law enforcement is actively trying to cover it up or keep it suppressed.
And I'm just glad to see movement.
So there needs to be an internal investigation, I think, within the TBI. Personally, that's just my opinion, as well as the CBI, Colorado Bureau of Investigation should have internal investigation all up in their shit and then some. I don't know why they haven't. DA Rourke out there, we watching you, buddy. Some of us in North Carolina.
That's all I'm doing. As I'm calling out the.
That's what I'm saying. Like y'all need to do your job in Arizona, Gilbert Police Department. You dropping the ball. There's somewhere up in Idaho too. I know that y'all are dropping the ball up there too. Y'all need to stop.
Well, people are picking up Caitlin Ledbetter's. That's why I'm going to go back through hers. People are asking. It's kind of hard to hear. It's a little confusing. So I'm going to, if like I like that. That's all I want is for people to understand and want to know, and I will retell it. Let me
Like
know
I
how to
cannot
tell it.
believe that they have not looked like it didn't take 5 minutes of me hearing what her dad said happened and then how like not consistent that is with what I know to be typical behavior of people in that situation. Like, no, I'm sorry. You're involved somehow, Dad.
Caitlin
You're
is less than a mile down the road
from
from
Aaron.
Aaron Shane Key, where
Yeah,
he
and
was.
his autopsy report and all the stuff that they said, and then the sheer difference in what was said and what was actually happening and what had happened to him. How are y'all even trying to pull that shit off? Is beyond me.
Well, they
Like,
told the family for at least 10 months that there was only two people there, knowing damn well for day one that that was far from the case.
yeah,
So
yeah, that's BS. The girlfriend and that, yeah, honey, you are
you're
such
going
a
to tell me she stood there
and just watch that. No,
calmly overnight, over eight people, five people confirmed we know of.
yeah,
Um,
you don't. That's not.
and no, but
Nope, nope, not buying it. Not even for a second. Not even for a second. I'm like, sometimes I'm shocked at the stuff that people get
maybe
by.
if it was a gun and she like shot him in the heat of the moment, but he didn't
Yeah,
break his neck. He suffocated and you stood there and watched him.
yeah,
According to
like
what she, it didn't happen. That didn't happen. That's my opinion. There's no way. There's no way.
no, no, no. And plus the bruising, the manner of bruising, and plus with the hanging, that could. There's that one thing that's out that's consistent with hangings, and that he didn't even have that. It's like, well, how the hell are you going to pull that off? You don't even have the one key piece of evidence that you have in a hang. You don't even have that on him. How are you going to say that he's having sex?
I just
I
and
don't.
he
I'm
didn't
like,
even break
wow.
his neck. Like he strained.
They
He
didn't even break his
suffocated.
neck too. I was like, okay, so you hung himself, but he didn't break his neck.
No,
How did that work?
I mean, you would think anybody in that moment would
Even
be, whether
Epstein,
she screamed for help or not. I would
yeah,
imagine that you'd be so
you do. You make
hysterical that everybody would have heard you anyways.
yeah, or just the sound of you because he was a big guy. The sound, I
Well,
would
because
think,
if it was him and her up there alone,
yeah.
the police could get away that there was nothing that she could do to get him down. But that's not the case.
Mm,
It didn't happen.
That yeah, that's obviously that didn't happen.
I
But
think
I'd like to think that you would do. I would do anything. I would have if it was me and it was my boyfriend and I saw that situation. I would do everything that I could. I would be over there like sawing into like posts trying to get them down. Like, don't even. No, you're just gonna stand there and let your boyfriend. You're just gonna watch him die. I don't think so, unless you're involved
mm-mm, it didn't
or
happen.
unless somebody made you watch because for whatever. There is just some very well. You know what he said to his mom. You know what he said to his mom.
Yeah.
Yeah, that right there. I was like,
I think whatever
wait
happened
just
that
a
day,
damn minute.
everybody had a little bit of reason why it was a good thing he didn't come up out there alive.
Yep, yep. Oh
But
yeah,
I am going to go. It
and
is 12:30 here. We're gonna have to do this more often.
yes,
Seriously.
for sure. And then
Just
Arctic is
come
gonna
in,
have to come on too.
get
Yeah,
a whole panel just of talking about I want to have a whole bunch of people come
especially
talk
before the
about
end of
these
May, because I
cases.
think it's good to talk about this in terms of like period in terms of mental health too, because it's important. And May is Mental Health Awareness Month,
I
so
just
it's
want this
important
to
to talk
be
about
a
this.
free space. I
Yeah,
am in no position to ever judge
no,
anybody in this world, as people
no,
are learning.
no. But and I'm more than happy to share my experiences with people so that they are able to learn from them. And I encourage people to share theirs with me because there's a lot of stuff that I clearly probably don't have a lot of insight on. Check my ass anytime, anytime. Feel free to do that. Do it in a nice way. You don't have to be,
I'm
you know.
getting there.
But I am able to take that. But it's because I've been through so much stuff and that I've had to learn from a lot of stuff that I'm able to do now. People, you could say just about anything to me, and it's not it ain't gonna phase me. It's not gonna phase me. It's not gonna hurt my feelings at all. It's not. It ain't.
I will.
It
I
takes a
feel
lot to
more
hurt my
comfortable
feelings.
coming up and talking, especially everybody's been so
I'm just glad
nice.
that you were able to talk about it. That makes me so happy to hear. Like when I came in, I put on the TV and I was like, oh, she's talking about it. Oh my God. I got so excited. I was like,
Not just the easy parts. I mean, none of it was easy, but there's still the other half that. But I do want to come talk about it, and since everybody has been so nice, I feel like I can come talk about that part of it.
I'm glad to be here. I'm glad that you were able to have me on here, and I was able to make it back in time to do that. So definitely get some rest.
I want to start having open discussions like this
I'm going to
about anything and everything. But I do want to get a panel of people that want to come on and that are interested in these cases. And, you know, I may not be good at it, but if you're better,
going to be better.
Let's come talk about it. Get caught up so that way you can go take it to your and go talk about it.
Yes.
That's all I want. I don't brand anything.
Sharing the information, getting it out there more, because obviously in Tennessee, that law enforcement is the president. It's our job. That we know about it. Once we are aware of it, it's our job to make other people aware of it. That's why
we just all, like, instead of fighting each other, I just picture we
all
have different perspective. But could you imagine if we would unitedly talking about these things
and not focus on catty entertainment that is so irrelevant?
Like you see a case on mine and you're like, oh, I'm gonna pick it up on my channel. I see one on your channel. Oh my goodness, I'm gonna come talk and
exchange information that we have about the case, actual factual information, stuff that is just he said, she said. I ain't got no time for that, and I don't want to hear about your love life either.
Well, of course, like even in situations like Gainsborough, and in a lot of it will be hearsay and alleged because they haven't gone through the system, so it hasn't gone through the court. So all of it is, but sifting through it, you cooperate.
When they know when you're talking about stuff like that, it's so obvious that it's like that's not true. That's not
like with Gainsborough. The fire started at 3 a.m. I'm not going to go up there and be like, oh, it started at 3 p.m. It's just
stuff that it's like that's not even close to.
No, what are you talking about?
And we know based on this and this and this that's not accurate.
Yeah.
Like, and why is there's so many things that we could talk about with that one case that I just won't even get into right now because we both need to get some sleep, and it's a dumpster fire that's constantly brewing anyway, so it doesn't matter. It'll be there tomorrow when we get
on more consistently and more routinely and try to get back into.
I think that's important. I think that'll help you too. Just if you like with me, that's what I've been doing is making sure that I try to stick. It's hard for me to stay on like a set routine because the way I am. But if I have like a general routine and I've been making little reminders in my calendar to remind me like, hey, today you're supposed to be working on your podcast, boo. Work on your podcast. And don't be letting that negative shit get in your way. All the time I talk to myself. Talking to yourself is not a sign of mental illness. In fact, it's a sign of mental health.
I answer myself.
I feel like if you talk to yourself, then you are good.
I talk to me, I answer myself, and then I'll answer that question with another.
Yep. I'll be like, hey, Emma, are you good? Okay, cool. Because I'm going to go over here and I'm going to do some self-care for a little while, and then I'll check with you later. All the time. Because I want to make sure that I'm good. So I will ask that, Emma, you good? Okay. Just shaking. Glad you're okay. All the time. But that keeps me sane. I swear. I didn't used to do that. And I was way less stable back then when I didn't talk to myself versus talking to myself. Talk to yourself, people. You'd be surprised what you find out.
I done talked to myself too much these 2 years. It's time to talk to.
But don't overthink. Overthinking will bring you happiness. Yeah, just talk to yourself. Don't overthink though. If one of your personality starts getting too, be like, okay, bye, and shut it down. That's it, Emma. Good night. I'm just so glad that you were able to talk about it. Honestly, that makes me happy. Even if it was like little parts or whatever, and people were accepting of that.
One of these days, I'll come up with the full story.
That they are there.
I appreciate you being here, and
no, I appreciate.
anytime you see me on, and if you want to hop up, I'm better in groups, and then being here by myself. Especially right now. I think
you need. Everybody needs a little support every now and then. So for sure, I got it. Anytime you see me,
I am going to bed.
I'm gonna have you on my podcast eventually. I'm gonna have you on there. We're gonna talk about it.
I will come on your for sure. Yes, I do. I will. It's scary, but I will do it.
Baby steps. You just do like I do every day. Still to this day, everything is one day at a time. One day at a time. I try to give people like I'm give people a couple hours in advance. That's about as good as you're gonna get for 50 days. Like I'm good. Day in advance, you're doing real good. If you got me a day ahead of time confirmed, oh, you are doing good. And I actually come and do it, and I get there. Oh my gosh, that's a miracle right there, y'all. So get some
I can
sleep.
relate so
We will
well.
do this again.
That's why it's so funny.
Yeah.
All right, I'm out of here.
Good night.
Good night. Good night, everyone. Thank you for watching, and I appreciate everybody being so nice. You guys have a good night.